know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
This thing feeling better than I ever have. Not because Bill came in and provided this information, Bill provided a guide. Because I can just help you help yourself. That's the goal of coach. You know, my whole thing is, I even tell my clients this, like, hey, like, I love working with you. You're a phenomenal person. My goal is to never see you again. Because if I can help you get to that place you need to be, at that point, we're friends. Good, phenomenal. You can text me, I'll hang out with you, whatever it is, but you don't need me to hold your hand. But when you have a moment like that where the light switch goes off, and it's like, hey, everything you've been pursuing for 8, 9, 10 years now is here. You never find that anxiety again. You never find that depression again. You never find that frustration again because you realize, oh my goodness, this is what I prayed for. This is what I focused on. This is what I meditated on, and it manifested. You can walk on your own 2 feet wherever you need to go. And that, I think, is just instilling confidence in people to believe in themselves again, to love themselves again, but to walk in that confidence, you know, walk in that purpose. And it's just, I love every single second of it. So bringing that to colleges, as much as I go off on a rant, bringing that to colleges, it's just incredible because if I can teach the next generation to do this, we change what happens in the future.
Oh, I recognize you. You're from the Low Gravity Podcast.
Oh, in public?
Yeah, I was like, I'm
running down there.
I'll slap you, your mother, and your father.
favorite. It's gotta be my favorite.
Spit it out, Junior! Oh my God!
No, that was me.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Low Gravity Podcast. If you guys did enjoy the last podcast, if you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. We have a very, very, very special guest on today. Bill, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come on our show.
I appreciate that.
Greatly appreciate it.
You guys connect, or I got connected to you guys, but I'm seeing the podcast you guys putting out. I'm happy with seeing the content, but I'm happy to be here and create something else. Like you guys, well, I'm looking at some of the episodes on Instagram and YouTube and everything like that. You guys are killing it. You know, I'm happy to be a guest on your show.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
Means a lot.
Yeah, it truly means a lot. For the people who don't know who you are, let them know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so what's going on, guys? I'm Billy Janeludis, Billy G for short. I'm a life coach and professional speaker, and been traveling the country helping people. Helping people is the name of the game. But my whole thing has been helping people, has been my driving force from day one of my life, and it's been opening doors. I studied psychology back in the day, opened me up to the therapy field, did that for 7 years, had the opportunity to fall in my lap to get trained by Tony Robbins and his team of therapists, took it instead of going to get my master's, and from that point on it was an entrepreneurship, and now I'm training people around the country, training people in Canada, in one-on-one sessions, but now I was at Michigan State last weekend. It's starting to build after years of pursuing your goal and your dream. It's just loving every single second of it while knowing it's entrepreneurship and it's an uphill battle. But if you love what you do, it's not much of a battle. It's just every single step of the way you're going to make it one way or the other.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
To know you're traveling to these big colleges, different organizations, speaking to big companies, like that's wild.
I love it. Yeah.
What is when was like that realization was like, wow, like this is all real? Like, did you ever have that that crazy wake up call, like, wow, I'm really doing this?
There was a gig I did in Mansfield, Massachusetts, so that's where I'm from, but not too far from here, and this was probably about, it might have been last year, 2 years ago or so, and it was a fundraiser. So we did it for the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. And the people that put together, hey, Bill, you lead a workshop. That's what we'll do, and we'll have all these businesses outside do it like for fundraising and whatnot. I was like, all right, let's go for it. And it'd been a while since my last workshop. And for this one, I was like, I just went into it with the mindset, I'm going to bring everything I have into this and just going to kill it. We filled the room with people. It was at the old Holiday Inn where they didn't have any more seats. And I was on my game, but I left. I was the last one to leave. I ended up leaving at like 1 in.the morning after cleaning everything up. And I had a moment in my truck driving home. I'm like, that was it. Like, I just kicked the door in, and we're just going nonstop. And then from that point on, businesses started to reach out to me to get more opportunities. Schools started to reach out to me to get more opportunities. And I'm going to take every single one. Like, I'm getting paid to do it, but I don't care how much I'm getting paid to do it because my whole goal is helping people. If I can help one person, phenomenal. If I can help an audience, let's go. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. That's why I love the one-on-one sessions compared to the audiences. But then I love the audiences because, like I said, if I can help one, phenomenal. But when I'm on stage, I don't care if it's a million people in front of me, I'm speaking to one. And if I can help that one, and then that one, and then that one, and that one, that's an entire audience of people changed. Hundreds of people, 200 people, whatever it is, thousands of people. That's life change at its finest, but that's a world change. So if we can help people one way or the other, you're helping the world at that point. That's just the driving force. But I'd say probably about 2 years ago or so, a light bulb switched where it's like, you're meant for this. And at that point, confidence was at an all-time high. But when you have a moment like that where the light switch goes off and it's like, hey, everything you've been pursuing for 8, 9, 10 years now is here. You never find that anxiety again. You never find that depression again. You never find that frustration again because you realize, oh my goodness, this is what I prayed for. This is what I focused on. This is what I meditated on, and it manifested. It's here. And at that point, I'm a believer, faithful, and everything like that. But to see all the pieces come together at one moment, it's like, I want the next one. I want the next one. And that's where entrepreneurship keeps building on me. But I get hyped up for it. You can hear my voice. I'm passionate about what I do. I love it.
No, absolutely. I mean, like, that's what keeps you here. That's what makes the companies want you. That's what the universities want you, because they show that you're passionate. You're not some guy that's just trying to get paid, but you're a guy with a goal and a mission, like whatever the case may be for you, but you're willing to change lives and you want to change lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's been a blast. It's been a blast every step of the way. Yeah.
How's it been doing it at the colleges, like Michigan, you said, for example?
Yeah, Michigan State University. That was a blast. So I got asked to do that. I went out in May and killed it, and they said, hey, we really liked you. The students loved it. Can you come back in June for another group of students? I'm like, of course. Why would I say no to that? And this time around, so when I do a workshop, my whole thing is based around the mind. And I've taken every psych course in the book. I graduated from Bridgewater State University. I've studied psychology, reading everything I can, trying to learn about the mind. But in the psych fields, we're told you're learning about the mind. But what I come to realize is we're teaching everyone how the brain operates, but we're not teaching people how to operate the mind. So I teach everyone the mind is the universal tool, because it can do anything, create anything, can answer any question you have. It can help you in any situation you're in if you know how to use it. So at these workshops, I teach people, whether it's students or adults, how to use the mind we were always meant to, but we're never taught to. So that involves using your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and how you can shift every single one of those to better your life. And if you can better your life in one moment, it's a domino effect. It keeps stacking. You start raising your emotions, start raising your energy to joy. So you're now looking at the world through a joyous standpoint rather than, man, like another day. We were talking about when I got here that you wake up every single day at 4 to drive to New Hampshire for your job. And I'm sure there's great days doing that. And I'm sure there's days where you wake up, it's like, man, come on. But you got to do it because you're driven. You're achieving something. But those moments where you're like, oh, all right, just get through this next day. What if in a moment you could change that perspective, you can change that emotion, so you're now driving to work in a joyous state, knowing, like, yes, this is a long drive, but knowing, you know what, this is going to be a freaking great day. And then you start in just that one little shift, you're directing your thoughts, you're speaking out loud, but you're directing your actions, so your body changes, your emotion changes. And at that point, manifestation comes into play where the rest of your day is now on an uptake. It's not, oh, not another one. And when we wake up, like that perspective, like, oh, I can't, not another one, we're constantly looking downward. So I teach people their emotions and how powerful they are, but I teach them how to use their mind, because that's the one thing. I wish we taught that to younger kids. Like, I've gone and talked to middle schools and high schools, and some kids run up to me afterwards, and they're like, oh, I needed this. This is what I study. This is incredible. And then there are some kids where it goes over their heads, which is totally fine. It's going to meet everyone wherever they need it. But going to colleges, to answer your question, these kids are taking it all in. They even sent me all, like, I got 6 testimonials yesterday from Michigan State, all students. And one of them said, I posted it yesterday, one of them said, I went into this in a very low state. I will not lie. I wanted to get something out of this. They did an entire workshop like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So he went into it hoping he'd feel better after it. And so he explained the testimonial that he went into it in such a low place, but Bill came in and he really made me think, but he really showed me how to think. And he told me about self-work, and I left this thing feeling better than I ever have. Not because Bill came in and provided this information. Bill provided a guide, because I can just help you help yourself. That's the goal of coach. You know, my whole thing is, I even tell my clients this, like, hey, like, I love working with you. You're a phenomenal person. My goal is to never see you again. Because if I can help you get to that place you need to be, at that point, we're friends. Good, phenomenal. You can text me, I'll hang out with you, whatever it is, but you don't need me to hold your hand. You can walk on your own 2 feet wherever you need to go. And that, I think, is just instilling confidence in people to believe in themselves again, to love themselves again, but to walk in that confidence, you know, walk in that purpose. It's just, I love every single second of it. So bringing that to colleges, as much as I go off on a rant, bringing that to colleges, it's just incredible, because if I can teach the next generation to do this, we change what happens in the future. And I think at this point in the world and society, I'm not a politics guy, but governmentally wise, it's like we're seeing people not really know which way to take, because we don't teach people how to use the tool between their ears the right way so they can make their own decisions confidently and walk in the direction, walk in their purpose, walk in their destiny, whatever term you want to use. But when they walk in that, it doesn't matter what the external world's doing. It's all about the internal.
Exactly.
That's what impacts the external.
You hit the nail right on the head, and I was going to mention that too, is senior leadership now in today's society. Not only senior leadership, but society now.
Yep.
Obviously, it trickles down. It's a domino effect,
For
like
sure.
you said, whether it be in a good way or a bad way. But in this case, for society, it's a domino effect downwards, because you see in upper leaderships, like, there's no guidance with them, and how do you expect the people under you to have guidance? So you're basically, it's the blind leading the blind, but on the back end of that, you're putting those pieces together. So good on you, man.
No, I appreciate that.
It's great.
Yeah, it's been my calling. Like I said, helping people's the name of the game, and I've wanted to do that since I was a toddler. And I tell this in my gigs, but the story behind that is, you know, I'm writing a book right now about helping people find their purpose. But I can only write that because I realize what helped me find my purpose. And there are moments in your life since day one pointing you in the direction of what you're meant to do. And so for me, helping people literally has been there from since I was a toddler. And I only know that because my family explained to me one experience where they brought me to the beach when I was a little kid and they lost me. And it's a horrific event for a parent, but they're running around the beach. Where's Billy? Where's Billy? I was 20 yards to the right because a little girl's sandcastle fell apart. She was bawling her eyes out, and Billy just went over and tried to help her in that moment. So that was so significant for me hearing that, because I'm like, wait a second. Yes, a little kid has a phenomenal heart, but I've wanted to help people from day one. All right, put that in the back of my mind right there. And then carrying that into speaking, I noticed another memory stuck out to me my entire life. I'm a wrestling fan. Growing up, I can remember me and my brother sleeping over at my grandfather's house, and we were watching wrestling. And I'm sitting on the couch with my grandfather, and he was so upset that the wrestlers were just cutting promos and talking on the mic rather than wrestling. And I was 8 years old. As a little kid, I remember thinking this. I didn't say it to him, but I thought this, and it still hangs in my head today. I actually really like when they cut a promo because it's one guy impacting an entire audience. As a little kid, I didn't want to be a speaker at 8 years old. But if I sit there and trace my moments and my experiences back, I realize helping people was always part of my destiny. Speaking to audiences was always part of my destiny because it stuck out. So the book I'm writing is called The Golden Strand, because there's a golden strand connecting the moments of your life, pointing you in the direction you're supposed to walk. So with what you just said, with me hitting the nail on the head, it's all I've ever wanted to do, and that's from before I even had a thought of doing it. It's just been there. And that's where we sit there and realize, well, is your destiny written? Is it not? Your destiny can be whatever you want it to be based on your decisions that you make. But there are core decisions that you will make regardless that will guide you to where you're meant to be. Like, there's a reason why you guys are doing a podcast, because there's a point there to connect with people, to impact an audience, to impact people and help them, or share someone's message, whatever it is. There's a calling on you. Like, you know what? This lights me up. So if we follow that emotion, if we follow that light, your light gets brighter, but then you ignite someone else's. That's inspiration. That's what you guys do with a podcast. That's what I do from a stage. We're all trying to help people in one way or the other. That's the beauty of life, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I wanted to jump back. So before we had turned the cameras on, we were just chatting amongst ourselves. I want to jump onto how you personally found your calling going into and fully pursuing what you do right now.
So I'll tell you the whole story. Where they started as my senior year, all of our friends played soccer. I stopped playing soccer going into high school because I got into basketball. And but my dad coached all of us growing up, so they're my closest friends. Get into senior year, and they started the season 0-5 or 0-6, and I'm just watching them all go to each other's throats. And I'm watching the coach tear his hair out and whatnot. So I went to his office one day, and I said, hey, maybe their friend can get through to them. And he said, Bill, I'll try anything. So we sat them all down on the turf fields, one practice, brought me in, and I just went for like a half hour and just talked about, called them all out on the fact that all of them wanted to be a star their senior year when soccer's a team sport, and just kind of put them all in the team perspective. They ended up winning the next 7 straight games, made it into the semifinals, made it to the finals, and ended up losing in their senior year, but it turned their whole season around. So the coach like, Bill, you have something, follow it. Went to college, studied psychology, and then I got trained by Tony Robbins. That was how I became a coach. And then I was like, let me just put workshops together. So now I just travel around the country and speak to companies, schools, colleges, everything. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, follow your passion. That's what it's about. Yeah, for sure. So with me, I always explain it. My steps I took to pursue this came from a lot of pain. And I think a lot of people's stories comes from a painful moment because life has to rock us, or the universe or God has to kind of knock some sense into us. Growing up, going to high school, college, I was an extremely anxious person. Extremely anxious. Being in college, I was so anxious to the point where I didn't know anything about the mind, for that matter, as much as I studied psychology, but I would always think up an injury, to the point where, just because I was away from home, I was away from my family, I was out of my comfort zone, so I would always think something's wrong, to either, 1, make me go home to see my family, or 2, literally drive myself to the hospital. And the doctor's like, Bill, you're fine. Why do you keep coming back here? But I was such an anxious person. I always lived in worry. So, went through the college life, had great friends or whatever like that, had a girlfriend at the time, everything. And I'm pursuing what the world would call, I guess, is the American dream, where you get the girl, you get the job, you get the house, the picket fence, the whole 9 yards, and you're marking everything off of this checklist. So I was marking everything off my checklist. As much as I was an anxious person, I was like, you know what, I'll get through this. I'll get through this sometime. It's just keep going. Just keep going. I think we're men, at least, I think everyone now, but I think men growing up in the generation I did, we were trained to literally suck it up and keep going. And that's, there's still people that train like that, which is totally fine. It's just how I was raised, essentially. So even with the anxiety and everything, I was like, oh, screw it. You have to get through it one way or the other. Just buckle down and go. So I'm pursuing this checklist of what I was told the foundations of your life are supposed to be. And then, oh my goodness, all hell broke loose, or everything fell apart all at once, to where my grandmother, this was after college, I just got into the psych field, therapy field, helping kids and families out in Brockton, Massachusetts. And extremely stressful job, but I just got it, finally got an opportunity. Probably within maybe 3 months of getting that job, my grandmother passed away with Alzheimer's. And I come from a Greek family, and if anyone is Greek listening right now, at least my family, not the most emotional and can handle their emotions when something happens. So when my grandmother passed away, she was the glue that held everyone together. So when that glue was gone, I watched everyone go at each other's throats. So a foundational point to our lives is you have your family to rely on. I didn't anymore. I watched everyone tear each other apart. So that foundation was gone. All right, well, I still had the girl, I still had the job, I still had my dream that I wanted to do this. So 2 weeks later, the girl I've been dating dumped me over the phone. That was gone. Never talked to her again after that point. All good. Hope the best for her. It is what it is. Life happens. So I, again, have my job and my dream. So I just took 2 hits. It's okay. Keep going. Suck it up and keep going, how we're all raised. So I'm pursuing that and everything. The job I had in the psych field, I think they still do this to this day, not just this company, all companies, is, hey, we're going to throw you to the wolves and hope you come back. And me getting thrown to the wolves in the psych field in Brockton was, hey, we're going to throw you to the families that DCF just took their kids away, and you have to go in and make sure these kids are okay. So now these kids from 7 years old to 21 years old are going, Bill, like, make me feel better. Like, have a session with me, because, like, everything else sucks right now. But I got Bill. So all of that gets poured on me when I'm already, everything's breaking loose in my own life. So they threw me to the wolves, but I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep going. So essentially speaking, that foundation became so stressful. So the foundations, the pillars that I built my life on, the relationship, the family, the job, as we're told to do, all crumbled. So all I had left was my dream, to help people. Didn't know how. Knew therapy was a factor, but I knew I wanted to speak. I've been pursuing that from day one, but I didn't know how. And then there was one night I was so broken, heartbroken, family broken, the whole 9 yards. It wasn't just one thing. And I'm laying in my bed, and it, pretty much bawling my eyes out because I'm sitting there because my whole life just fell apart. And it dropped in my head. And this, like, I was at the time of this happening, I was not the most faithful person. I knew of God, I didn't know God. And I'm sitting there just like laying in my bed, and it literally dropped in my head to where you can't deny this is God helping you out. And it goes, search Tony Robbins. I'm like, search Tony. And at the time, I didn't like Tony Robbins. I didn't like how he spoke. I didn't really I knew he helped people, but I didn't. Something about him was like, not me. And I was so down on my dumps. I was like, fine, whatever, I'll search it. And usually, if you search Tony Robbins, the first thing that pops up is Google Images or Wikipedia. Not this night. All right, this was a Friday night. No, it was a Saturday night, and not the place you want to be, laying in your bed on a Saturday night after you just got dumped. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, search Tony Robbins. Like, fine, whatever. And the first thing that popped up was how to get trained by Tony Robbins and do what he does on stage and help so many people in all the ways that he does. And I clicked on that link, and this video pops up, this like 20-minute video or so, and I watched it, and I felt it in my soul. I felt it in my heart. You are going to do this, and you're going to help so many people. And I had tears in my eyes watching this video because I felt it calling to me, like, you need to do this. So I signed up for it right away, got trained by Tony and his team of therapists, learned everything that he does on stage to help people, all his interventions and whatnot. But the beauty of that is that was a step into helping people in the way that I knew I could. Because the therapy field is extremely limited. Coaching field is completely open. So what I thought is, all right, I love helping people in the therapy way, but coaching is an active pursuit. Therapy is, we're going to unpack your past, help you heal, and then see ya. Coaching is, hey, we can unpack your past. We're going to teach you the inspirations and the stories behind that will help build you into your strengths, and then actively help you take action towards the life that you want to live. So I'm like, all right, if I can merge therapy and healing with taking action into the life you want and acting on your potential, not too many people are doing that. So I started to merge the two together and then bring them back to the therapy field. And then client after client, family after family, the managers and supervisors like, Bill, how are you helping people this quickly? These clients have been here for years, and you're coming in and helping them in a matter of months. Like, what are you doing? I was like, truthfully, I'm just being myself. I think I had ingrained so much that coaching where it was like just confidently going in and helping people the way I believed. And these kids are receiving something from it to the point where their parents like, this is a different kid. This kid had so much anger issues, and he doesn't anymore. This kid had no self-esteem, now he doesn't anymore. This kid was so depressed. What happened? And it showed me how to use the mind to the point where then that opened me up to spirituality and faith and all this deeper areas to now where I teach people the whole spiritual side of things. But it all built around the fact that my entire pillar system that we built my life on was shattered. But I believe it was shattered because I built my foundations on the world, and you're not supposed to do that. You're not. You're supposed to build your foundations on, I believe, faith, spirituality, a deeper calling, your destiny, whatever it is. And when you do that, it's the scriptures actually say it. You build your life on the rock, meaning it's unshaken. So if it's unshaken, no matter what you do, keep going. It's not going to fall. I built my life on the world, which is extremely shaky, and that's when I started to realize, oh my goodness, that scripture makes so much sense to my life. And again, I wasn't the most faithful person. Now I understand this, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I started to build my life on everything after my life fell apart. All these great things, the dream, faith, helping people, love, self-love, confidence, everything. I'm pursuing what was on my heart to do. And when that became the foundation, I started to see the doors open. So to answer your question in this long way, it's essentially speaking what sparked it, pain, and my life falling apart. And I'm so eternally grateful that it fell apart. Because who I was before, it wouldn't be this person sitting on this couch. If I didn't go through that pain, I wouldn't be on this couch. If I didn't go through that pain, I wouldn't find my confidence. If I didn't go through all those struggles, the heartbreak, the family break, everything, I wouldn't have the confidence I have now to step in front of an audience with my passion and help other people. And I think that's just how the universe, how God works, where it's like, hey, I got to break you to remake you, and I'm going to make you into something phenomenal. And at that point, it's like, let's go. I have nothing else to hold on to. Let's go and just see where it leads. It led me to Michigan, led me to companies, led me to everything. Lead the way, let the Spirit lead the way. It's awesome, though. Yeah.
Absolutely. So your path, your journey has been adversity, really.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people say is adversity builds character,
Mm-hmm.
adversity builds leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, it's like to hear that and to hear what you've gone through, and a lot of people, I mean, some people find God, some people find other things,
for sure.
Spirituality, whatever the case may be for some people hippies, man, I don't know.
No,
like
for sure.
People believe in whatever they want to believe in, but
which is fine.
Yeah,
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's finding that.
Yes, right? And it's finding a deeper calling to your life. So it's like when I was going through my pain, I ended up going to a Christian church and everything like that. I'd never really been to one, and it helped me tremendously. And where I grew in understanding the mind, it opened me up to like further that. So it's not necessarily the Christian perspective anymore, but I believe universe, God, everything like this, everything that we were supposed to learn on a deeper level that I believe we aren't really teaching to people. So when I go out to these audiences and I teach people about their emotional side, that's in the scriptures, but it's hidden. You can't. You have to break it down. So when I started diving into Dr. Joe Dispenza. I started diving into more Tony Robbins and manifestation teachers and everything like this. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're all saying the same thing, which love is the bottom line of everything. We're all saying the same thing, but we're not teaching people how to use the energy to do so. So when I step in front of these audiences, manifestation's a factor to it. But manifestation is talked about in every single culture of the world. So I can't stand when people point the finger, hey, you're wrong and I'm right. Talking about a spiritual side, that's BS to me. Because I'm sitting there like, I don't, to me, like, I follow, I tell people, you know, I follow Jesus and everything like that. Like, I think he's an incredible teacher, but it doesn't discount the fact that Buddha brought so much to the table. It doesn't discount the fact that a homeless man on the side of the street could teach me so much about spirituality in the world than a pastor could teach me. But we're supposed to lead with a heart and be open to everyone. But so many of these different religions and cultures of the world are forcing people away by saying, hey, they're not right, we are. I'm like, all right, well, you point over there saying they're wrong. That's a reflection of yourself. There's something in you that needs to force it onto someone else. And I'm like, that's not the way. Regardless of what spiritual teaching you have, Jesus, Buddha, whatever it is, they lead with love. And so I had to start stepping away from certain cultures because I'm like, all right, I'm just going to follow where I'm supposed to go, which is the spiritual side of things. And it's just like, I'm just going to let God lead the way. You know, and that's at the end of the day, that's all you have. You know, yes, you guys have your families, you get your friends, you get everyone you need. But at the end of the day, the only relationship you will have is you with yourself and you with Creator, whatever you put Creator as. Universe, God, Jesus, whatever you want. But there's a deeper calling, there's a deeper light to you. And the more my life went through adversity, as you're touching on, the more I saw the light in me, but the light in others start to ignite. And I'm like, all right, there's more to what we've been taught. And that's where I love studying the spiritual side of things. And I love adding a little flair of that in. But every audience I speak to, no matter what age, when I get to that point, everyone's eyes gets wide. It's like there's a need. There's a need in people to grow that side of their life, not just learn about the mind. We can all do that to better ourselves. But when you learn about how the mind connects to the spirit, which connects to the body, it's like there's a whole game we haven't been playing. And that's when audiences really absorb it in. And it's incredible.
Yeah, and a lot of what I'm getting for you right now, well, from you right now, is like you're supposed to be in that scenario at that specific place at this specific time because it's faith. Like, whether your morals or your ethics, like those, like your faith is your compass for your moral and ethics, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going through this, and you're going through this adversity because it's some sort of self-teaching moment. Yeah. You're supposed to be here. Like when you don't want to be here and you're like, I want to give up, or whatever the case may be. No, you're in that predicament. You're in that situation for the reason.
100%. And it's funny. A kid at Michigan State asked. It's the last question of the day. They had so many questions that they had to cut me off because they had to get to the next workshop. But the last question is this young girl asked it, and I felt for her, and she said, "How do you know? Like, what was it? How do you deal with the fact that your family doesn't believe what you believe?" And she was talking about spiritual side of things, like cultural side, faithful side of things. And I didn't ask her, what demographic she comes from. It didn't matter to me. But I explained to her, like, you guys got to understand something. Everyone in this room, you guys right here, listening to me right now, every single experience you go through in life, good or bad, brings with it a lesson. It's a spiritual lesson, one way or the other. And whether it's pain, whether it's love, whether it's joy, whether it's hate, whatever it is, everything brings a lesson with it. And if you learn the lesson, you pass the test, you level up in life. You level up in here, you level up in here, but the external starts to change because you were, in fact, a different person because you went through whatever that was, adversity, love, whatever it is. Everything in life is molding you into who you're meant to be, but you need to go through certain cuts and certain shapings and whatnot. Like the symbol on my business is a diamond, because not in the sense of, oh, diamonds are cool, but I believe every single person's a diamond, and every pain you go through, every adversity you go through is like just a washcloth coming to it to make it shine just a little bit brighter. And if you have that perspective on what you go through, but if you learn the lesson of what you go through and you pass the test, you grow. Everything in life is about growing you to who you're meant to be, to where you're meant to be. I can go off an entire spiritual tangent on that because there's so much to it, but I basically explained to this entire audience, like, hey, like, learn the lesson. If your lesson is that you grow up in a family where they don't believe what you believe, they don't have the same faith that you do, to me, that means strength is your faith is your greatest strength. Do not dim that because of the people around you. Your lesson is to realize that's your light. Follow it. And if you follow that, yes, your family will catch on. It's like me, when I started pursuing my dream, I can count the people that support me in one hand, and not one was a family member. Now they support me because, like, oh, Bill never quit on what he wanted to do. Now they'll help me no matter what. But I had to learn to go through that first stage on my own. Faith leading the way, realizing if no one's going to support me, I'm going to support myself. No one's going to believe in my dream because it wasn't given to them, it was given to me. I'm going to take a step towards it, and then they'll come. Now people are starting to show up. Now more audiences are coming because I had to have the faith and belief in myself that I could do it, and then learn that lesson, where at the end of the day, that's the one thing that will matter. If you have faith and belief in yourself, you will get through whatever it is, whether it's a gym workout, whether it's speaking to an audience, whether it's creating a podcast that impacts people. Pursuing what was on your heart to do and not caring what other people say is the first stage. Learn the lesson. All right, we're doing this one way or the other. Pass the test. Next level comes up, and another lesson comes. But that's the beauty of adversity. It's the beauty of life, where everything's trying to teach you to help mold you into who you're meant to be. So to answer your question, yes, everything, my perspective is this was supposed to happen. Do I believe it down to a T? Yes and no. Because yes, I believe that this podcast was supposed to happen. Do I believe that it was supposed to happen on this day and it's tallied somewhere in the universe that it was going to happen at this very moment? Possibly. But I sit there too, where we all have different decisions to make. One of you could have said, hey, I can't make it today. We're going to do it next week, which I think was the original plan. And like, all right, phenomenal. Like, it's going to happen one way or the other. I don't have to worry about it. It's going to come together. So if you sit there and you have a trust that, hey, my life is going to get to where I need it to go, I just got to take the steps. It takes all the baggage and the anxiety and the stress and the depression out of it, thinking I'm not where I want to be yet. And I fought that. I think everyone fights that. But if you sit there and you focus on where, oh, man, I have so much to do. I'm not going to get there. It's just so far. No one believes me. And what you're doing, thanks to your mind, is you're telling your mind, you're telling the universe, show me more that people don't believe in me. Show me more that I can't do this. Show me all the struggles. Show me all the stress. It just creates baggage in people to where now they're carrying this dead weight in them where it was never supposed to be there. But if you come to things with a light heart, hey, this is supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen. All things work together. That's a scripture in itself. But if you believe, you know what, all things work together, I don't have to worry. I don't have to be attached to the outcome. The greatest outcome will come to you, and whatever it looks like, for whatever someone listening, their goal, their dream, whatever it is. But it's phenomenal, man. It's a trust in life. It's a faith in life, which is a lesson in itself. But when you grow that strength, that muscle, nothing really stops you anymore. It's incredible. Yeah, there are tough days, but the tough days help get you ready for the best days, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Shit. It's crazy. I just get like so like I imagine like I feel like a student. Like I'm into it.
There you go.
I'm
just
there
so
too.
into
I'm
it.
listening. Yeah.
I'm glad. I appreciate that.
No, like I'd imagine like even the audience listening now here today. I mean, this is free. You didn't have to go to Michigan State to go see this. But
There you go.
yeah, no, but it's insane. Like the journey you've went through, but also how you like persuade. It's not just informing, but it's also persuading. And so I can see where a lot of these big companies and organizations, like they need this, obviously for the leaders, for the CEOs, whatever, but also like where students need this and the youth, because in reality, like this is development of your mind, development how you think, development how you move, how you navigate through now your life.
Right.
And so obviously, like you said it earlier, I mean, like the earlier the better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to release a lot more anxiety.
Yep.
Than now, like what you were saying, in your predicament, like you were so worried about the future, or every little detail.
Yeah.
Where if you had the same information that you're giving now. If someone gave you that information, they would have stopped you from all the worrying when you were a kid.
Yeah. Oh, and I completely agree with that. I was so at the gig, a speaker friend of mine came. He's in his 60s, Greg Harris, former NFL player, whatnot, but now he's a business speaker, business coach, and everything like this. And so he came, he watched the gig and whatnot, he loved it. And we're talking afterwards, went to go grab dinner, and he goes, Bill, there's something about you. You're like the Wayne Dyer for the next generation. I don't know if you guys know who Wayne Dyer is. He's incredible. He passed on, but he's an extreme spiritual teacher. And that was such a blessing to hear someone say that, because I look up to Wayne Dyer. He's a very incredible teacher. And I'm sitting there like, that meant a lot to me, because as you just said, if we can teach the next generation, as we're talking on, if we can teach the next generation, we change the future of the world. And that we ignite more light. We help people realize that it's not everything on your phones. It's not, she said this about me, so I'm so upset. It's like, why does that matter? And we have to teach kids to come back to that. And it's just, that's what these workshops do, and it helps people. But it's such a joy. There's so much energy there, and I think it's a fun for me because I get to guide that energy. As you said, it's like persuading people. And it's funny you say that, because when I was in college, I took it was called Forensics Practicum. It was a traveling speaking team. And I won a couple of awards doing it. It was like my first shot to really speak in front of an audience in college. And the teacher was not a fan of me because I found ins and outs to speak on what I wanted to speak on. She was like, Bill, here's the prompts of what you can choose. You can choose, I forget the names of it, but one of them was basically like it's an informative speech, a persuasive speech, or one other one. And I sat there like, well, at the time, I would just coin myself as a motivational speaker at that stage of my life. It's like, well, I want to motivate people. What if I persuaded people to motivate themselves? And so I brought that to her, and she's like, fine, just do it. She was so annoyed with me. And so I went, and I ended up placing in this tournament we did. And but that was my thing, persuading people to better themselves. And so now you look at where I'm at doing this, as you said, persuading people. It's like, we all have this information. If I can persuade people just to be open to it, and then help them realize your mind was the greatest tool ever gifted to you. And if you don't use it, it gets thrown away. And we see so many people, the generations we came from, our parents, our grandparents, like my grandfather was the first one over here from Greece. And just looking at how different he was compared to my dad, compared to me, you see the transitions through the generations, but you see they both were men that used their hands to create everything. Not necessarily the mind. So my generation is learning the mind. Your generation is learning the mind to create. And that's how ages and generations work and whatnot. But I sit there and like, when you start to look at your life in that deeper way, where there's so much at your fingertips to utilize. And I'm not I teach in the gig that, the phone, the Google is the carbon copy of what your mind can do. We all go to Google. Oh, well, if you have a question, you need an answer. But if you sit there and wait a moment and ask the right question, you get the right answer from your mind, because it's connected to the universe, it's connected to the higher source. And teaching kids this, teaching companies this, it's incredible. And with companies, it comes in. I explain to companies, it's bringing when personal development meets professional development. Because I can help your employees become better professionals by teaching them the personal side of it. Because if I can help them show up to work in a better way because they did the personal internal work first, your sales are going to skyrocket. Your results in that company are going to skyrocket because now your employees are showing up better for work. The morale is higher. Why? Because you brought in pizza for everyone, as that meme is going around nowadays? No, it's because you help them here, which then help the external of your business. And companies, they love that. They're like, oh my goodness, I never even thought of that. I'm like, you have to give time to what your employees need. And the greatest need in the entire world today is that we don't give time for ourselves. So if you set aside an hour for a workshop for your company, your school, whatever it is, the impact can be extraordinary. And the tough thing is that bosses, teachers, principals are so go, go, go as the world is, they don't want to give time to that. It's just on to the next thing, on to the next thing. It's like, well, you're missing out on the moment that you're in that you could help someone. That's why it comes back to what you said earlier. It's like moment by moment. Wherever I am, it's where I'm supposed to be. And when you have that perspective, you're aware of your surroundings. Heck, I could leave this place right now, this studio right now, and homeless man on the side of the street, whatever it is, like, come up and talk to me. For some reason, I'm supposed to be talking to him. And it's just, it's one perspective of life. Everyone can have so many different perspectives, whatever it is. But if I'm not go, go, go mentality, I'm going to be present with them. And for all I know, he's got something for me to learn. I've got something for him to learn. Or it's a lesson for me. Hey, I could give to this homeless man. I could hold my money and not give to him. You know, whatever it is for anyone listening. I'm just using that as an example. But it all comes together. But it's all about focusing on persuading people, as you said, to be open to the greater information that was always there. It's literally in hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt and everything like this. And it's like, we don't learn that anymore. So if I dive in and learn that and bring it back, well, it's at some point in history we swayed. We went off course. All right, let's bring it back. One person at a time, for sure, one audience at a time, but why not ignite someone's light? Inspire someone to do something better for themselves, for that matter. You know?
Yeah, and I want to touch on the morale portion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of what we focus on in the military is obviously like work, service before self, whatever. But a lot of the big problems, obviously, like suicide's such a big problem nowadays. But suicide is such a big problem within our field of work. And I actually had this conversation with. So I lead a team of guys.
Sweet.
And I had a conversation with them, and I asked them like, "Do you enjoy coming to work?" I was like, "What's your favorite part of coming to work? Is it us? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the job? What is it? Is it the training?" And everyone had the same answer. Like, it's the people. So I was like, obviously, I told you what time I go to work at, and I don't have a problem going to work at that time because I enjoy the people I work around
100%.
And the job. But some of them don't enjoy the job necessarily, but they enjoy the people. So I was like, does it bother you guys when I come out to see you guys while you guys are working? Obviously, to have conversations. Do you feel like it's too official? Do I have to change something? Do you see me more as a supervisor or a manager, or do you see me more as like a leader, someone you can talk to? And I got the same answer. They were like, no, I don't see you as like a CEO. I don't see you as a manager. I see you as another personable I could talk to. And like we got into that obviously because like exactly what you were saying. Like, if you know your people, if you take that second to go out and let's say, for example, you know one of their kids' birthdays. I mean, why do you know my kid's birthday? It's because you go out and you care.
Yeah.
And obviously with you caring, and even if they don't like the job, they're gonna do better by you.
Yep.
To make sure that your job, your mission is being done effectively. This way nothing comes down on you, and so nothing comes down on them. But in reality, it's out of the respect. It's the respect aspect, because
100%.
It's more or less you're a friend that they can count on, that they respect, and then you're just some manager.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're selfless for a moment to see what that person needs in that moment, so they're more selfless to come back to you. And that's the whole thing. You put your energy out there, it comes back to you. You know, in whatever way. So if you're putting out a selfless energy where it's like, all right, you know what, that paperwork can sit there, can do what it needs to do. I can go check on Jimmy, whatever it is. And like, Jimmy's having a really tough day, but because I talked to him, you know, he's in a better mood. Where could Jimmy have gone? He could have got through the day. It might have been a struggle for him, but because you went up and talked to him, you were selfless for a moment. He feels more. Because he feels more, he's going to want to give you more. It's all about, as you said, these leaders, CEOs, bosses, whatever it is, coming down from the pedestal and realizing, oh, you're just another human too. You're just another person too. And, you know, I get in the corporate world, not many bosses want to do that because they work their ass off to get there. Good for you. Phenomenal. I love that. That's awesome. But you will be the greatest boss in the world if you can come down to your employees' level and be there with them, then go back up. And that's the greatest thing in the world, because it shows you're also there for them. You're not just, they don't want to come to me because I'm the boss now.
Yeah.
Reach out a hand.
That was my biggest fear.
Yep.
That was my biggest fear after I got promoted. It was like, how are they going to view me now?
Right.
So once, obviously, we're peers.
Yep.
And now I'm your boss. How does it feel when your friend's your boss? Usually some people are like, oh, it's going to be a problem. But in reality, it was like, it hasn't been much of a change. Right. If anything, it's been easier.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest, I want to say, like, pieces of advice that I was given was like, you weren't given the rank for you. You were given the rank for your people.
Yep.
I was like, wow, that's deep. And if actually people like take that in and think about that, like, you as a manager, you're not obviously your job is to manage the operation, but your job in reality is to manage the people to make sure the operation gets done. You're just the stepping stone to make sure it gets pushed up. But people forget that, where it's like like you were saying, they're so focused on the political aspect.
Right. No, exactly. And pointed out to you, give yourself so much credit. As much as that was your fear, like, oh, is it going to change? Give yourself credit, one, for that fear doesn't even hold a candle anymore. But two, you got that position because of who you are. And they recognize who you are. Because of that, you're meant to lead. you're cut from the rest, you know? And so if you're cut from the rest or cut away from the rest, what the heck am I trying to say? When you're cut from a different cloth, essentially, and you can lead, that is why you have the position. They recognize that in you, so that's to build confidence in you. But if you take that confidence back to them, there's no more fear. There's no more, oh, is he different than us now? No, you're exactly the leader they need at the moments they're in. And they can always come to you. And the more you show them that, you're going to have the greatest team with the entire company, military, whatever it is, you know? That's what it's all about. It's camaraderie. And I know the military teaches that and everything, but camaraderie is a whole different thing. It's like when you're on the battlefield, like camaraderie-wise in military, it's like you have each other's backs, right? Regardless, no matter what's going on. Bring it back to, it's not like to say in a corporate world, you have each other's backs, whatever what. Like, it's going to be different unless you're David Goggins or whatever it is, you come and speak to a company. But to bring that mentality back for yourself and look at it where it's like, you know what, I'm a leader. I could be a leader on the battlefield. I could be a leader here. How can I take the same lessons I learned growing up in the military here to show them that camaraderie? That's why you were appointed that position. It could be, because you did great on these papers. You did great on whatever it is. You really did great on these scores. No, they recognize the personality, the morale. They recognize who you are and all the great traits you bring to the table. That's why you got the position. And that's why your team under you now is like, oh, we respect him because he brings so much to the table. And when you see yourself as that light, the roof's gone. You just keep going, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it shows.
This was a conversation I needed. And it's crazy that it happened like same week.
Yeah, right, there you go.
So what are the odds? Yeah. Like you said, it's faith. It's one of those things. Like,
all supposed to happen, man. Yeah. Like, regardless of what cultural perspective people come from, everything does happen for a reason. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Wow, what are the odds?
Exactly.
I wanna segue on the whole like religion stuff that you had said in the previous conversation.
Yep.
I like the way you put it out, that it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, you're Catholic, and stuff like that. It just matters that you found something to believe in. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people nowadays need to understand, because I hate and I'm going to use the word, I hate how these different religions throw their religion down your throat.
Right.
Like, I grew up Catholic, and seeing it, I went through, so they do schooling, so you learn all this shit and whatnot. And after I had graduated and did all that, I saw it with my own eyes, and I realized, I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, the stuff they're teaching you is bullshit. They're trying to put you in this certain narrative that they came up with to throw you on this path to go this and that. And I'm like, no, this is not it. This is not what I want to be believing in and stuff like that. And then, like, obviously, like, my parents and stuff like that, they're like, why are you saying that? Like, you got to believe, like, you grew up a Catholic, you're a Catholic, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you made me a Catholic. I'm old enough to decide what I want to be now. And I've realized, like, yeah, I know that there's somebody up there who knows if it's God, Jesus, whoever they call it. I know that there's somebody up there watching over me. It could be my grandparents or something. And in times of need, like you had said, they're there to help you and guide you to what you need to do and what faith is giving you. But I like how you put it, that, like, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It just matters that you believe, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they're just trying to throw, if it's not even just religion, but just like stuff in general, just trying to throw it down your throat and like, no, this is how it has to be, even if it's wrong. It's like, I can appreciate that, like, just a select few nowadays still see that, like, no, this is how it's supposed to be in my life. Doesn't have to be what you think it is, because it's my life. We all live different lives and shit like that. And what you believe is completely different than what I believe. What you live is completely different the way I live. And I feel like everybody needs to see that, because throwing stuff down each other's throats brings that clashing of the heads, brings the fights, brings all the rage and all stuff like that. And it's like, we're all the same at the end of the day. So it's like, why are we fighting over shit? Like, yeah, everybody's got their own opinions, everybody's got this and that. We just need to like each other as one. And I think that's like a great touch that you had thrown in there. Is that like we just need to be created all at one and just believe in what we want to believe, not what society throws us to believe.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that back up. And I'll say I have a message on YouTube that it did really well because it connected to this point. I call it spirituality versus religiosity. So you talk about Catholicism, you talk about all these different cultures and everything like that. That's religiosity, meaning religion is the vehicle being utilized to get you to spirituality. So when I was at a church a couple months back or so, I was checking it out and everything like this, want to see what it was all about. We got split up into different groups just to converse with each other. And we all watched this video, which I loved. I went up to the pastor afterwards, like, hey, he didn't speak that day. He put this video on. And what it was this college professor, a Christian college professor. She brought her entire class, I believe it was to India. They went on some like trip or whatever, not a mission trip, just to learn about the other cultures and how the other cultures believe. And I'm like, let's go. Like me sitting in this church, I'm like, this is the best video a church could ever show, because you're breaking that wall down of there's other beliefs. And my belief is my belief, your belief is your belief, but love is the center of all of it. And so we're watching this video, and all these students in this class this woman's teaching are learning like how to meditate and connect with other people, and they're realizing, oh, you know what? Yeah, we might have different beliefs, but you're not that bad. It's pretty cool. So that wall's coming down. And then we had to converse with each other about it. And questions. And I was the oldest one in this group. It was like me, like two 20-year-olds. So I'm 31. It was me, these two 20-year-olds, and like two 15-year-olds. And I was like, all right, I'm leading the way with this conversation one way or the other. And because everyone was shy, then I'm like, I'm going to talk. If I'm in a group, I'm going to talk. And I started going off on this idea of spirituality versus religiosity. So how I describe it to my audiences, how I describe in this video on YouTube that people can look up once a week with Billy G, is if you picture a house, like we're in a building right now, if you picture a house that you grew up in, and every single room in that house has a window. If you look out that window, you get a different perspective of outside. Right? So if I go in this room, I'm going to label this room as Christian. And if I look out that window, my perspective of the universe is the Christian perspective. And I go down the hall, and I walk into the Muslim room. And I look out that window, and I get the Muslim perspective of the universe. Go down the hall, I don't know, Catholicism perspective, whatever it is. I was like, all right, I understand that. But let me go outside. I want to go outside and play today. So I go outside the house, and I see all the universe for what it is. I see all the energy. I see all the light. I see everything lighting people up. I see the emotion. I see all these great things, angels, spirit guides. I see all this incredible blessings and help. I see what God intended because I chose to step outside that window, go outside, and be like, wow, this is what all of them were talking about. It wasn't confined to a room anymore. So religion, is the vehicle to get you to see the universe. And when you are ready in your spiritual path and journey, I believe those walls start to fall so you can see everything God intended, everything the universe intended, everything source, whatever term people want to use, source used for you to come here. Because we're all, one way or the other, I teach us in the gigs, we are human beings, we are spiritual beings, and we are energetic beings, right? So we all have a spirit, we all are human naturally, but there's energy coursing through us. We wouldn't be here. You know, I teach in the gigs. Back in grade school, we learned the states of matter. You know, you got your solids, your liquids, your gases. The solids, they have their atoms that are really slow, so we can pick up the table, we can sit in the chair, whatever it is we're doing right now. Liquids, they move quicker, so they sit in the bottle, they sit in the cup, whatever it is, they take the shape they're in. Gases move so fast that we can barely see them. Everything is matter, which means we're all matter. And this is where your thoughts come into play, where your thoughts direct your energy. So whatever my focus is, I call it your focus point power. So if my thoughts direct my focus, and if I focus my thoughts onto joy, my energy rises. But if I'm looking at the world through a joyous perspective, and my light is brighter on a spiritual side. So if my light is brighter, I can go to the darker places and be a light to those that need it. And if we look at all these different teachings and religions in the world, Jesus was a light in the dark. That's why we teach that in church. Buddha taught people the light that came from within. And so there's all these different spiritual teachers, and now a term being tossed around as mystics through ancient times, spiritual teachers, mystics, and everything that brought a deeper enlightenment knowledge. Every single human being on this planet right now is walking their own path, is walking their own journey, is walking their own spiritual journey, different than everyone else's. So your lessons are different than everyone else's. That's why I come back to earlier, where everything you go through is a lesson. So if you learn the lesson, you pass a test. Your soul came here to this world to learn the lessons, to grow and learn about this life and whatever experiences, like military, whatever it is, family you talked about, to learn the lessons and then elevate higher to a higher emotion, but a higher perspective. And I believe that perspective is when I step outside that house and I see the universe for what it is. I see people for what they are. Regardless of, when I worked in Brockton, I would see families that treated their kids terribly. And I had to go into that every house every single week and talk to that parent about how they treated their kids or whatever happened to the kid. And I'd see just these people that were just so, lack of a better term, some of them were dark. And it just emotionally, spiritually dark. And I was like, and I look at the kid and I'm like, so when I was a therapeutic mentor, so I take the kid out of the house, we go to the park, we go play basketball, we go to the library, we dive deep into whatever they're dealing with, and then a couple hours later we go home. So it was really taking them out of the community, out of Brockton, into a better community, a space where they can be open and talk to me. And I think that's why so much progress came out of these kids. But what I was allowed to do was I was able to take a kid, scriptures teach you this, regardless of what culture, that kids are the greatest light in the world. Jesus teaches that. So if kids are this greatest light in the world, what dims it when they get older? Is it the parents? Is it the environment? Is it the school systems? Is it the government? It's all the above. But if you teach a kid all this empowerment and light stuff at a young age, they realize there's so much more. If they realize how to direct their emotions, direct their thoughts, their words, and their actions to direct how they feel, they are now a light that then impacts everyone else. So they can be the light that goes back to that family that was so dark, and they might impact them. They might, and I've seen kids literally be the change that happens in the family, which is phenomenal. It's like a domino effect. And then I've seen families try to dim that light more because the family sees the change in the kid. And when we elevate ourselves to a higher level and we're around the same people, is why that message throughout time is surround yourself with people, surround yourself with the right people, essentially. Because if you surround yourself with people with lower level people, you're never going to rise. You're going to be like lower level people. It's all energy. So if this kid goes back into his family that was lower level, they're either going to rise to his level or try to take him back down. And the tough thing with family therapy is that every single person has a different habit, routine, perspective on how that family needs to operate. So if this kid changes outside of the house and comes back in, he's at a higher level, energetic, light level, everything, and then the family is still stuck in their old ways, it's going to be a whole different battle for that kid to come back into it. But the kid can. I still have clients reach out to me today where they were going through struggles that, sessions were tough sometimes, but they still reach out to me today years later and go, hey, I still remember those conversations we had at the park. Like, they helped me more than you could ever realize. And that means the world to me. And I'm sitting there, I was like, and I tell him, hey, that's not me talking. I wholeheartedly believe God speaks through me, angels, everything like that help me out, as we just touched on. But it's what they need in those moments. And it's just incredible seeing the impact. But to round out that whole rant, it's like we are all spirits. We're all souls here learning lessons that we specifically chose to learn. I'm going to add more scripture to this. There's a scripture that we hear more often than not that God knew you before you were in your mother's womb. And so I always sat there, I learned that, I go, all right, he knew you before you were in your mother's womb. That means I had a life before I came here. What was that life before I came here? And if you read outside of that scripture and you dive deeper, which we don't really teach in churches and cultures, if you dive deeper, you realize that you were a soul in heaven, in the universe, and you chose every single experience that you would ever have in this life. And because you chose I chose to have that perspective years ago of my family falling apart. I chose to be a member of that family. I chose my parents. I chose all this stuff. And I chose to have my heart broken. I chose to for that job because that job would throw me to the wolves, but it would put me through pain. But ultimately, I knew I would get through it. Ultimately, I knew I would find Tony Robbins. Ultimately, I knew I'd have all these clients. So before I even came here, if that scripture is true, which I wholeheartedly believe it is, God knew you before your mother's womb. Source, universe knew you before you were in your mother's womb. It's because you had a life beforehand that shows all these experiences you're having to learn all these lessons and then grow to where you need to be. That's what our life is. So regardless, connecting it to your question right now, regardless of cultural background, regardless of family environment, you make your decisions. And as long as they're elevating you in a deeper way, spiritual, emotional, physical, whatever it is, as long as you're growing, you're on the right track, growing in the right way, in a greater moral way, a greater light way, whatever term you want to put on it. But that's why I believe when people operate those higher level emotions, love, joy, confidence, passion, peace, whatever you want to call it, empowerment, you can only make the right decisions. That's why emotions are so strong. And like, to put a period on this, teaching the gigs when I'm talking about your thoughts, the term emotion, if you research hieroglyphics, scriptures, everything like that, the term emotion stems from energy in motion. So if I direct my energy in the motion that I direct my thoughts, because my thoughts direct my energy, all right, well, how can I direct my thoughts? Well, if I ask the question right now, just like we went to Google, how can I experience more joy today? Your brain is Google. Your mind is Google. It has to answer that. And if you give it time, it will give you an answer. So how can I experience more joy today? And I get my answer, I'm going to follow that answer, and I'm going to experience more joy. How did I do that? I directed my thoughts. And so there's all this deeper internal work that we came to learn that religions are trying to teach us, but I think at some point got skewed. I really believe that. At some point it went off, but because it went off, it puts it back on us to realize, what do we need? Do we need to leave this place and go learn differently? Follow your path. It might be. That's like me. When I was coming to my faith, I was very against meditation because you're told not to meditate in a Christian perspective. Although Jesus says meditate on the word, I was like, it just didn't seem real to me. And then I went through another spell of depression. When I was already coaching, I went through a spell of depression because more stuff happened to me. And this signs just kept popping up to take this masterclass by a guy named Michael Beckwith. He runs the Agape Spiritual Center in California. And I learned meditation. I learned so many deeper perspectives on faith and God and universe. And I'm like, I felt so much peace in my soul that I realized I was supposed to go into that spell of depression again to find that and rise even higher. Everything in life, your downs are meant to help you rise higher. Down, okay, you didn't go down that long. That's why I teach where it's like you can go, the more you elevate yourself and rise above these levels, you might sink, but you don't stay there. You bounce back up. And that's like there's science class teaches this now, but we all think that an up curve, we're constantly going up the mountain, you'll get there quicker. But in reality, there's an imagery out there you can find on Instagram and whatnot. If I drop a ball and it goes down and up, it actually gets there to the destination faster. So the downs in your life are meant to bring you to where you need to be faster because there's lessons to learn down there that help you rise higher up here. And you might sink again, but it's okay because you're going to get even higher. And at the top point of the mountain, you have your goal. And you realize there's another mountain. And you do the same thing. That's why life is supposed to be teaching you every lesson, every step of the way. But it's incredible. And it's just helping people, guiding people through this in their own specific ways, like coaching sessions. I get to step into people's lives and see where they're at and direct them and help them these deeper perspectives of what they're going through. And it's like you see people's eyes light up where it's like, I never looked at it that way. And then how do you feel now that you do? It's like, that makes so much sense. And then it's like that pain is gone, or whatever the emotion was attached to was gone. And then they can look at themselves, they can look at their life at a whole different perspective, a deeper perspective. The tension in life fades away because you're now in control. You realize why you go through what you go through, and then you learn the lesson, you pass the test. Well, now I'm better because of it. And then you have a smile on your face now instead of the frown. It's the beauty of helping people change their lives, but it's all just information that's out there. We just got to grab it and utilize it. It's the tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would love to, I love what you said, that you make your own decisions, because you get all these people that are around. Well, I wouldn't say all of them, but there's a lot of people out there that are like, the way my life is going is because of how my parents raised me and whatnot and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but you're at the age where you can make, yes, you started in maybe a shitty environment. You maybe grew up in a good environment, and then you made the decision to either do something stupid or do something good with your life. It follows you. You are the person that dictates everything you do in your life. Yeah, you grew up with what your parents teach you and what you go through and your childhood and all that. Yeah, but you need to learn from that. There's no, like, if you hit rock bottom, oh, you can't blame it on how you grew up, how your parents treated you, or how life treated you. No, you got to find avenues to get yourself out of those positions, because like you said, the hill makes you get to your destination faster. So if you hit rock bottom, there's no going farther than rock bottom.
Exactly.
There really isn't. So once you hit it, it's only up from there. And then obviously if you get from that up and then you hit it again, you know that there's a possibility of getting up to that top point again. But you mentioning and saying that you making your own decision, that's a big thing, and I think a lot of people shy eye to that because they are allowed to post so much blame on outsourced things to cope with the decisions that they've made. Right. And I think that it needs to be opened more. People need to realize that, yeah, it's time to bite your tongue, take what you did, learn from it, and continue going and make your life better, because you can do it if you put your mind to it.
It's true, right? Exactly. It's like if you ask a new question, you get a new answer. If you take a new action, you get a new result. And if we're going to continue to do the same habits, same patterns, same actions, same behaviors as we've always done, we're only going to get the same results we've got. So we add that, and we see that throughout life. I could say that in the gym. Oh, wait, I've been doing the same workout for a year. Well, why aren't I getting results? So your body get used to it. That's growing up in families and whatnot. It's about making these adjustments. But then in this generation, more than ever, is more self-aware. As much as I think social media takes us away from that, if we're looking at the wrong things, there's a lot of teachers out there. But we're more self-aware, where we can go through something and then sit back and be like, that sucked, but why did it happen? All right, I learned this. Well, what did I do in that? Yes, this person hurt me beyond belief, but what was my cause in that? And I have examples of that in my own life, but it's like when you're self-aware, you realize the decisions that you made to get you to that point. Not just your family, not just friends, not just girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. You realize what your part in that was, and if you don't want that same result, change your part. Make a new decision, get a new result, get a new answer. And that's on us. That's self-empowerment. That's personal power at its finest. But we can always make a new decision. You know, people listening right now, if you're pursuing something that you aren't interested in, like I have so many friends that are in jobs that they never wanted to do. They just did it because they got out of college and it was there. And I'm like, all right, well, what's your passion? Well, I don't know. I never looked at it. Well, what am I asking you now? What's your passion? And they can't answer it because they don't give themselves the time to figure it out. And I said, all right, well, I'm giving you the time right now. Let's go get lunch and let's go talk about what your passion is. And it's like, I got a client right now. I love this kid. His name's Zach, and he's 22 years old right now. I meet him in Easton, Massachusetts and whatnot every other Tuesday. And I got brought in because Zach was so depressed. His parents brought me like, hey, you know, we heard about you. We'd just love for you to come in and meet with him. We know he's depressed. We just don't know why. And like, so first session, like, all right, man, like, what's up? What's the depression? I kind of guide through some of the stuff I do in the workshop, and basically guided him out of his depression so he can see a higher perspective. And if I can get him from depression to optimism for a moment, it's a better emotion. I can get a better answer out of you. And so Zach started to rise up the list, and I said, all right, man, what's the deal? Like, what's causing this? He goes, I never, like, all my friends are going to college. I didn't. I'm in the electrical field. I don't want to be in the electrical field. I did it because it was kind of like the family thing to go into the trades and whatnot. And, like, I'm just not connected to it. I'm like, all right, man. So you're depressed because you feel that you're behind. You're depressed because you're doing something you never wanted to do. We can change that. What do you want to do? And it took a couple weeks to get to this answer. But one day we were walking, like, so it was in person. So I was walking on one of the trails of the neighborhoods with him, and I said, "All right, man, what lights you up? What brings the most joy to your life, dude? If you really thought," he's like, "Well, I love dogs." I'm like, "All right, dude. So dogs. What about dogs? Like, what is it, man? Like, do you love playing with them? Do you love hygiene, cleaning them, everything like that? Do you love rescuing them?" He goes, oh, it'd be so cool to rescue dogs. I think that'd be the best thing. I was like, and you see his emotion light. You see that depression fade away. In one moment, he's a completely different person. And I said, you know what we just did, Zach? He's like, what? We just found what you want to do with your life. You're going to rescue dogs because you just lit up when I asked you that question. It's not a hobby. It's not an interest. That is something you're meant to do. And he goes, can I really? I'm like, yes, you can really. We'll go research that right now for the rest of the session. And for weeks, we put time into this to the point where he started contacting rescue dog places and talking to people, finding out how they got into the business. And at this point, he's out of the electrical field. He's doing like a side job, but he has more time on his hands. He's 22, so he's got time. He's got all he needs to research how he can start his own dog rescue business. But you see him every single session, and he'll tell me, he's like, Bill, I feel great. I feel so great. I'm like, why? Because we realized electrical wasn't your path. For a moment, it was there to teach you lessons. It was able to bring in a paycheck. I was an electrician before I got into the therapy field because I needed a paycheck. Student loans kicked in. I needed something, and they put me on nights. I was on 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. in Boston. Terrible. It was awful. But I did that for 3 months, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not using my degree. I'm not speaking. I'm not helping people. I got to get out of this. So I quit. I said, hey, boss, I appreciate everything. I'm out of here. So I left the electrical field. No job, no nothing. This is where faith comes into play. Because I took a step of faith for myself and left that job, within a week, the therapy job fell on my lap. And so I took it. I got hired right away, set everything in motion. Same with Zach. He changed it up. He left it. Now he has more time. He has so much more joy. He's got his life back, and he's putting the pieces together. Why? Because, coming back to your question, he made a new decision. He got a new answer. At any moment, you can take a new action and change your life for the better. It's just a matter about having the confidence to do so and the belief in yourself to do so. And when people have the faith and belief in themselves, you know what? I'm not quitting on myself. I'm going to find my way. You will find your way. There's no doubt about that. It's incredible to see.
I feel like I always say this, and I'll always live by this. You're the realest person on your team, always, because I'll find myself having conversations with myself, and I know deep down that if I'm saying it to myself and I'm debating and going back and forth on different things to myself, I'm the only person that's going to give me the answer that I'm supposed to know. Because, yeah, you can talk to people, and people live different perspectives in life, so they might think that the scenario you're thinking about should go a different way than it actually should. So as long as you're able to realize that you yourself are the realest person on your team, and that you can't fail yourself. Yep. You can't. It's literally impossible, because your mind and everything around you, your aura, everything about yourself will push you in the right direction. That's something that I personally live on, and I love living on that, because I've done nothing but steered myself in the right direction, because I put myself in situations that, might have been a bad situation, but I learned from that as a person. And the thing is, like, explaining that stuff to people sometimes is like, they live different, they live different lives, and I have to learn that, and I have to go through those situations, and I got to be that person to learn those humps, because if I'm not going to do it, then nobody else will do it for me.
Right.
It's like, I look back to, like, people who do, like, drugs or have alcoholism and shit like that. They're addicted to alcohol and cigarettes and e-cigs and stuff like that. You can't take someone and throw them into a rehab facility, because once they come out, they're going to go back to doing what they did because you put them in there. Yeah. It wasn't their decision.
Exactly.
The thing is you can't change somebody without them wanting to change themselves.
Right. Exactly.
It's the biggest thing, and not a lot of people realize that, which is weird. Yep. It's weird that, because it's like I went through. It's not like it was a big thing, but I had an addiction to e-cigs.
Okay.
And it was like my girlfriend, my friends are like, it's not really good for you. I'm like, I guess you're right. Whatever, I'll quit. Whatever. I started back up. It had to be on me. Yeah. And I realized I started not feeling well. And I'm like, all right, this has got to be, maybe this is the e-cigs. And I was like, all right, let me stop. Yeah. Started feeling so much better, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, now I got that craving back. I want to do it again. I'm like, oh, no, this is not for me, because now I'm getting even sicker. Right. So I found a way for me to stop personally. And I've been over a year sober on smoking e-cigs.
Nice.
Like I'm only 23, but like that's a big step for someone so young. Like I started at a young age, which is terrible to say because my generation we started junior senior year. It was very feasible for everybody to get. Now that the government and all that started banning stuff out, it got harder and harder and harder, and it allowed me to open my eyes. I'm like, oh, I need to stop.
For sure.
And it was hands down the best decision I've ever done in my life because I feel so much better. I'm a lot more active. I can breathe, which is crazy. The one thing that you're supposed to be able to do, I was literally destroying it, doing this stupid shit. And it's like I have friends who continue doing it or like smoke weed and all that stuff. And I'm like, listen, this is what I did. And it was the best thing I've ever done in my life. Obviously, if you want to continue doing it, do it. But this is what I think is beneficial. And I found out the other day, like, I had mentioned it to my cousin, and I found out he quit, like, a few months ago. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this is huge. And it's like, I've been telling him for so long, and then he finally made a decision himself personally.
Awesome.
And I'm like, wow, this is huge. And, like, you can see it, like, everywhere, like, not just, like, with like my situation, like e-cigs, but like marijuana or drugs and shit. Like you see that everywhere where people are finally coming to realization, like it's my time to stop this because it's not benefiting my life. It's more or less ruining my life, and I'm spending stupid money feeding this addiction. Like you can save so much in so many different ways of life by stopping the stupid shit and making that final decision.
True. That's so true. So let me ask you this. In all of that, what is the strength that you found in all that?
It was pretty much just believing in myself.
Believing in yourself?
Yeah, because the hardest thing was for me is I wouldn't say I'd say I'm like self-diagnosed ADHD.
Okay.
Like in certain situations, I feel like I'm all over the place. At certain times throughout the day, my mind just varies all over the place. And with the e-cig, I felt it controlled me.
Okay.
So like what I would do is when I was playing video games, it was there. So I'd just take a quick swig, and that was it. It relaxed myself in that situation with that tick. I had like a tick.
Okay.
That I needed something to control my hands with when I wasn't doing something. And that was what came into play was the e-cig. And then I'm like, all right, I got to stop this. Then it came to snacks. And then I stopped snacking because I'm like, all right, I went from one thing to another. Now it's getting even worse because I'm having the snacking control that itch. Went cold turkey. Completely stopped everything. And I felt that it more or less helped me mentally be able to self-control things that I deep in the back of my head knew I could control, but in the front it just completely took over.
Right, I get that. I'm going to ask you even deeper now. So you've mentioned self-realization, self-control. Kind of what's the underground strength to those that you gained from this experience in your life? Because I'm guiding you to something. That's why I'm asking you.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like the right way. So
self what? You just hit it. Oh, you hit the nail on the head in so many ways, but you haven't said the term. And I want to guide you to something by asking you this.
I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe like what exactly.
Let me say this. What do you have now thanks to that in yourself? What's your greatest strength because you went through that? That other people might not have, but you definitely have it.
I would say like maybe a lot of self-discipline within myself.
So close to
Fuck.
I'm going to tell you.
Like self-realization, right?
Self-realization, you said that one, but self-awareness. So you have grown such self-awareness in yourself where you can see all of this.
Right.
You can see the fact that where these decisions led you here. You have the self-awareness to realize I can't keep going down this road, and that your friends helped you get to that. You said your girlfriend, everyone's telling you, it's like, hey, it's not really the best thing. So they were able to impact you to grow. You know what? I feel like this when this happens. I feel like this when I do this. I feel like this when I do this. To the point now where you have self-realization, you have self-discipline, you have self-control, but you have self-awareness. Why I wanted to guide you to that strength is because that's your strength. That's something not too many people have. But since you do, you can help other people grow their own self-awareness in that background, but in other backgrounds, because you went through that. It's like me learning all this stuff because I sunk so low. I had to learn these traits in myself before I could teach to other people. You've learned that you have a trait of self-awareness. Like I said earlier, this generation's growing that more than ever. But as you've seen, a lot of people don't have it. Your cousin learned it, but you can now be the teammate with your cousin, essentially, because your self-awareness is much higher. I can already sense it in you than most people. So if yours, because even when you were going over your family and their religious background and how you've been making your own decisions, that's self-awareness. That's spiritual awareness, because you know who you are. You might not know who you are going to be, but you have an idea about who you're meant to be. And it's all these strengths. So why I wanted to point that out to you is because when we realize what our future self, higher self, best self, whatever you want to call it, what their strengths are, that's what's trying to get instilled in us. So if self-awareness is trying to get instilled in you, you learn that, but then you can give it to other people. And if you can give it to other people, you can help so many people. That's why you went through that for sure. But I see that strength in you, and I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. Use that and give that to other people. Because if you can grow self-awareness in other people, you can do that with a podcast, you can do that with helping people, whatever it is. But if you do that to other people, you're like what I do, you're changing the world, one person at a time, because you walked it. You walked that path. And I wanted to make sure you got that, dude.
No,
it was in your words. It was there.
It was definitely there. It just had to come out. And,
yeah.
And I'm glad, like, that is what I try to do,
yeah.
In a sense, because it's like, the experiences that I go through, I like throwing them towards people so that they don't fall through the same mistakes that I went through.
100%.
Because it's like, why am I gonna watch someone do the same shit that I was doing and then have them reach to either the possibility of get how down bad I was or even worse? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
In the end, we're like going back even further in the conversation that we had, like, we're all one. We're all the same human.
Exactly.
It's like, why am I going to watch someone suffer the same shit I suffered when I can tell them what the stuff that I learned, and then they'll realize in themselves, oh, maybe he was right. Let me switch myself.
Exactly. That's taking your light and lighting someone else. And I love that. So what I like to teach people is inspiration. The root word of inspiration is in spirit. So when you guys, whatever your goals, dreams are, something sparked you to pursue what you're pursuing now. Something in spirit, you were inspired to pursue it. So for you right now, you're inspired in the self-awareness piece because you walked it. It lit a fire in you. And then you can take that fire like a match to other people. But eventually your match turns into a bonfire. And then now you're just igniting people everywhere you go because you've realized your self-strength, and you can give that to other people and help them realize their self-strength and self-awareness. But that's, as you said, we're all one, and that's, again, coming back to so many different scriptures and hieroglyphics and cultures, but we're all teaching people literally that we are all one. If I look at you and I see myself, that's how I'm supposed to treat you. Back in the day, elementary school, treat people the way you want to be treated, right? It's an age-old thing. Well, because we've been saying that from day one of humanity. And it's like, treat other people you want to be treated. But, okay, if I see you or you see someone on the street and, like, I want to go help them, self-awareness, whatever it is, and then you light their fire. Well, you just inspired someone, and they could take that wherever. We're all one. We're just trying to make the world a better place, and I think we've all lost that. Yeah. Not we all, but like the world has lost that perspective.
Society, for sure. It's like we've lost a lot of empathy.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of empathy.
Right?
And I'd say also the other part of that, too, is like he briefly touched on it now, but you touched on it before, is just like accepting that it's okay to outgrow some people.
Yeah, oh, exactly. 100%.
Like in his situation, if those people were accepting of the fact that he did, they didn't really care, but then he had a realization, like, that they were... Like that was unhealthy for him, but not only that, but they were also doing other unhealthy things. Like branching off from that is okay.
Yeah.
Like not being around those people anymore is okay because it's part of the journey you're supposed
100%.
to have.
You're going to grow out of people. Just like we grow out of clothes. We get bigger, we grow as we age. You're going to grow out of people. You're going to grow out of emotional ties that you have because you're supposed to. You're supposed to keep growing. And if people are dragging you down, I watched this happen in myself. Because I elevated so high on an energetic level, on a spiritual level, I saw people like trying to bring me back down to theirs. So what they would do is make fun of me. and try and break my confidence because I can sink back to theirs. But why are they there? Because they're not right in here. And if they're not right in here, I don't, like most people that are down or depressed, I've seen this happen. I've had people throw this in my face. If you're not in a good mental state, most people do not like seeing someone else in a good mental state. That's the wrong perspective to have. So if I'm not in a good mental state and I see someone that's happy-go-lucky, whatever it is, well, why is he so happy? And then they want to take you down with it. That's lack of self-awareness, right? But that's trying to bring someone down to your level rather than rising to theirs. So everything I do, I want people to rise up, not to my level, to their highest level. Because they're individual. As much as we're all one, you're an individual growing in your own way. That's why I put so much emphasis on what's that strength, because that elevates you to see it on a deeper level, to magnify it, to focus on it, and realize, like, okay, this is something that's tailored to you. Your self-awareness is a different level than my self-awareness, than your self-awareness, whoever it is. So if yours is at a higher level, you can help others to whatever level they're supposed to be at, right? Some people, their self-awareness is going to be so low, and it's going to be like trying to crack a safe. You might get a little bit, and then that's all you can do. You got to move on. And I've had clients like that where it's like I've told people straight up, like, hey, I'm going to do everything I can to help you get you to where you need to be, but you need to walk the path. And they don't want to walk. I can only work with you for so long. If you don't want to put the effort in and address what we want to address, or I help people, right, exactly. Like I can help people and I can give them deeper perspective shifts in sessions, and we come back the next week and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that. I'm like, well, what did you do in the past week when you were supposed to do X, Y, and Z to help yourself? Yeah, I didn't do any of that, Bill. Like, all right, man, I see where this is going. I'll keep helping you for the rest of the time that you signed on for, but if you're not going to utilize it, I can only do so much. Because this is me trying to pick you up and guide you to where you're meant to be, walking the path together until you don't need to hold my hand. And some people like, oh, see you. It's like, well, and I find that more in young people because there are a lot, like I had a client, he was a great kid. He just went through a tough upbringing, but his parents signed me on, and he came from a very wealthy family, but because of that, he didn't grow any of those self strengths, we can say. And
everything was handed
to him, so he didn't develop the urgency, didn't develop the grit to really try and go and make it for himself. So his parents like, well, why don't you go do it like we do it and everything like this, who literally became wealthy because they put the effort in. But he had everything handed to him. So I was trying to heal the pains that the parents put on him, and he was able to get there, but then the parents would come in and toss him back down to the point where he just, Bill, I don't want to meet anymore. I'm done. I'm not putting the effort in. He quit. And I was like, all right, man, I'm going to keep calling you every single Wednesday when we're supposed to meet. If you want to meet, I'm there. If you don't want to meet, I can't help you anymore, man. And he stopped. And I had to go to his parents like, hey, just want you to know he doesn't want to meet anymore. And it's nothing on my part. It's nothing on the parents' part. It's literally just the kid's like, nah, I don't want to better myself anymore. He wanted to keep going his own routine. I can only help people for the time that I'm supposed to. In the grand scheme of things, I think he was supposed to leave it when he did. I think I was supposed to leave it when I did. And those lessons are always in the unconscious part of his mind. They will come out at some point. I trust that. It's just a matter of him getting to a place in his life where he says, I want it now. He doesn't need to come back to me, but he's going to find a way. I trust that.
There's a deeper, I feel like there's a deeper meaning in what you just said, too. It's just like accepting some of the things that you just can't control.
Yes,
and
exactly.
being okay with that.
100%.
Like you said, you were okay with that, knowing that maybe later on, years from now, decades from now, it'll come out.
For sure.
But some people just also aren't willing to accept that.
Yes.
Like they need the result. They need the immediate satisfaction or some type of immediate reassurance where it's like you can find reassurance over time.
Yeah.
Randomly, with faith, you can bump into this kid 5-10 years from now and wow, he's a successful, go-lucky guy. He's got a family. He's got a nice house.
Yep.
But that wasn't who he was 10 years ago.
Right, exactly. And coming back to our own paths and everything that we're on, spiritual-wise and everything, for all I know, his path might lead him to, sadly, a devastation that gets him on the right path.
Exactly.
Because I believe God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, is guiding you. And if you go too far right or too far left, there's like bumper plates at the bowling alley. You're going to hit and you're going to come back. And I believe there's a guiding source to all that to get you where you're meant to be. And that's why you see, to go off of the, you mentioned rehab earlier. Some people, I believe in a soul standpoint, their soul chose that they were going to make those decisions because there's something at that rehab they had to learn about themselves and learn about the world and learn about the universe, whatever it is. And they come out and then they become this phenomenal speaker, phenomenal coach, phenomenal whatever it is, phenomenal parent, dad, mom, whatever it is. They never would have been that phenomenal parent or speaker or coach, whatever it is, unless they made those decisions. The bumper kicked in, God kicked in, the universe kicked in, and brought them back to where they meant to be, so they didn't go too far. I trust that. I just believe that in myself. I believe that in everyone I talk to, where it's like, and that's tough for parents, kids that I've worked with, where the parents like terrified. I'm like, hey, trust. Just he's gonna get there. Do not worry. That's the toughest thing in the world now. Do not worry.
Yeah.
You know, that's scripture in itself. But you tell someone not to worry, they're gonna try and worry. You know?
Yeah, no, right.
I think that's huge now too, like worrying among like parents, and not only like parents, but like go back into like schools, like teachers and stuff like that. I feel like it's not more or less that they worry too much. I think, well, it means the same shit, but it's like I feel like they're not worrying too much, but they're worrying too much about
stuff they can't
certain
control.
people that they can't stuff they can't control, certain people they can't control.
It's acceptance.
And it's like yeah, it's awesome that you're trying to bring this individual or this situation within yourself to try to maybe fix it, but in the end it might not be the best for that situation.
Yes, exactly. It might not be the right time and everything. And you know, you talk about worrying and whatnot. I just put together a masterclass literally today, and one of the lessons is on the purpose of the lesson is identifying your manifestation block. But in one of those areas is overthinking. Overthinking is a form of control. So, you know, manifestation, you're constantly manifesting. Your mind is always on. It's always thinking. It's always creating whatever you're thinking about. There's no stopping that. That's why it's great to think on great things, and it's great to feel the tough emotions, but only for a moment, because you need to experience it, but we don't want to focus and stay so much on it because it creates more. But with worrying, we're constantly thinking on, I don't know, say overthinking on the relationship, the hows of how something's going to come about. Excuse me. We mentioned like kids and parents and whatnot worrying so much because the parent wants to be in control. They want what's best for their kid. It's phenomenal. It's supposed to happen that way. But at some point along the line, that parent's clutch on that kid's shoulder needs to start to step away. And parents today more than ever are terrified to do that because society, because the country, because the world, because you don't know what that high schooler at the park just talked to your kid about, whatever it is under the sun, or what they gave them, whatever it is. But that's the kid's decisions. They need to make that, coming back to what you said earlier. So with this masterclass is teaching people how to step out of overthinking for a moment and just, you grab your journal, piece of paper, and you literally write down, with regards to manifestation, whatever your manifestation is or the greater vision you have. And if you're overthinking too much on how that comes about, you're holding on to it so much so it blocks it from coming to you. So you have to pour it out. So you grab your journal, piece of paper, you write down all of the hows to how this could come about in your life. And you label them all down. You go page to page, whatever it is, line after line. And what that does is it pours out your anxiety. It pours out the overthinking. It pours out the control onto the paper. And you sit there and realize, like, wow, this could actually come about in so many great ways. And the universe wants to bring infinite ways. There's more. Well, why the heck am I trying to control it? It could happen. Like, so if a parent listens to this right now on the control aspect rather than manifestation, and your kid, whatever it is, sit down and write down how many great ways could your kid become phenomenal or become a success in life. And if you ask yourself that question, your mind's going to give you an answer. So if you write down, well, you know, they could make all the right decisions in school. They could get all straight A's. They can go to this college. They could do this. They could meet this person. They could do this. They could do this. And the list goes on to the point where you pour out the anxiety, but then you have a sense of relief where it's like, wow, what the heck am I trying to control for? It could happen in all these great ways. I'm trying to make it work one way. There's 1,000. There's millions. There's infinite. I'm not going to control it anymore. And it's just a realization point. But that's just something that connected today to what I was doing in regards to this control and overthinking thing. Because as you said, with worrying, people want to worry. We gravitate to worry. But that's, I told you before, I was an anxious person. I was a depressed person. I've been through my bouts of depression different times in my life related to certain areas. And I always was able to pull myself out of it because I realized, worrying is essentially speaking me trying to control the future. That's what worrying is. I come back to scripture in that because God tells us if you're going to focus so much on the future is mine. I designed you to focus on this one moment. You find the presence in the present moment. That's why we breathe. And people tell you in meditation and prayer, you focus on your breath, because I can't breathe the breath I just breathed. I can't breathe the next breath I'm going to breathe unless I go through this one breath. So meditation focuses you to breathe on one breath at a time, because it's truly the one thing that's in the present moment. But if I'm in the present moment, focusing on the here and now, focusing on the podcast right now, talking to you two about this topic, I'm not thinking about my drive home. I'm not thinking about what happened yesterday at the gym, whatever it is, with that client, whatever it is. I'm here. And as I explained to my client last night, and he's like, Bill, I try and do what you say with just be here, and I'm getting better at it, but it's tough sometimes. It is tough sometimes, because we've been trained our entire life to focus on the future and not live in the now, when all we were ever designed to do is live in the now. So we're going against our nature by stepping out of this now present moment. But again, if you find the presence in the present, universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it, that's where you're supposed to live, And that's where all the anxiety fades. That's when anxiety faded away from me, because I'm realizing, all right, I can't control it anymore. What the heck am I going to try? I'm just fighting myself at that point. It comes back to this overthinking thing and whatnot, and worrying. Yeah, it's a lot.
Anxiety does a lot to people.
It does. Yeah.
Conor McGregor said it. He said, talking about the past leads you to depression.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about the future leaves you anxious. And he's like, but me training now, that's what keeps me calm.
Exactly, right? I describe it in my gigs, if we get really spiritual in the gig, where you think about people pray, they put their hands together like this. I always interpreted that where the future, the past, put them together, you have the now. That's why we put our hands together, because it centers you here and now. I was like, that makes so much sense. So connecting to Conor McGregor, well, if I focus on the past, I get depressed. I say that in my gigs. If I focus on the future, I get anxious. But if I focus on the here, I'm okay. I'm at peace. I'm freedom. I'm content with where I am. You might be bored or something like that, but boredom is better than depression, Boredom
Absolutely.
is better than anxiety. Contentment's better than all those. It's like, all right, let me just be here. And that's just it's training your mind. That's why meditation is the greatest tool I can ever teach someone, because it's like training your mind to just be here. That's what focusing on your breath and meditation is, to give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can every single day, and just be here. Watch what happens. You literally retrain and rewire your brain and your mind to just not worry. It's the greatest thing in the world. It's incredible. Yeah, so it's a factor in my day. It's a factor in my clients' days now, and it's like, like Zach, he'll come to me. My other client, I met my newest client in Franklin, Massachusetts last week, but this session, this past Tuesday, he wanted to learn about meditation. So we meditated in this like random park. People walking around us and everything. I was like, all right, man, we're just going to go for it. I'm going to put like this thing on YouTube. We're just going to go for it. And dude, he went so in, and he was so committed to it, to the point where I had to like get him out of it. I was like, dude, the video ended 5 minutes ago, man. You good? I was like, that was the most peaceful thing I've ever experienced. I go, that's what it's all about, man. And that was the first time for you doing it. What happens if you do it again tomorrow? And it becomes a daily routine. It becomes a new habit. So you're not coming back to your example with the e-cigs and everything like that. Like, you found something else to take its place. So if we find better habits to take the place of our negative habits, we can only get better. Meditation it's just a habit filler, but it trains your mind to make those decisions in the moment. So like now I've got people coming to me, like family, friends, clients. It's like, Bill, how do you stay so calm, like on stage, or how do you stay so calm when these big decisions come to you? It's like, I just trust them, and I'm exactly where I need to be. So don't worry that I'm going to make the wrong decision. I know I'm going to make the best decision. It's going to lead me one way or the other. It's going to lead me to where I'm supposed to be. Let's just go for it. And it releases my control, coming back to that topic before,
It's moments of clarity.
100%, right? Exactly.
And those moments, like you were saying, those moments of clarity, they lead you to a lot. Not only does it give you internal peace, but it also, say if you are one of those people that worry about the future right now, you have those moments to, all right, now think, what are your goals? Your goals aren't good. You're not going to be anxious about your goals, because those are things you're actively working towards. So you know that you're in the right direction.
Right.
And you got in the right direction how?
Yeah.
Because you were in the moment, figuring out, wow, these are my goals. These are my short-term, long-term goals. These are my daily goals. These are the things that leave me at peace every day. Waking up every day and being grateful for that, but now folding my bed, wow, I got one thing done for the day.
Exactly, right? Yep, Make Your Bed. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal. Navy SEAL, I think, wrote that, right?
Admiral.
Yep, exactly.
That's exactly where I got that from.
100%, dude, and that's what it is. One moment for that, That's an accomplishment for the day. Next moment. Next moment. Brushing your teeth. Next moment. Everything like that. It's just coming back to a place of, this now moment is all I have. If I'm brushing my teeth, it might seem like nothing to someone else. It might seem like nothing to me, but I got to do it. Might as well be here for it. But if I'm brushing my teeth and I'm thinking about my drive to work, your drive to work and everything like that for a long drive, if I'm thinking about that, it's like, you're already in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not to say, oh, well, you're brushing your teeth is not as important, but still, why miss out? You know, if we're living in the future, we miss out on the now. I did that for so long, and it ruined relationships. It ruined family. Like I have no doubt in my mind, my anxiety was a factor to why those relationships and family fell apart in my own perspective. But I'm sitting there. That's not me beating myself up. That's me being real. Self-awareness. We came back to, but it's like I'm not like that anymore because I had moments of clarity. Because I came back to these moments now. It's like, okay, I get it. One moment at a time. You know?
Yeah. To go back on that conversation that we had off camera, like, because you asked me, like, well, how do you? Is it worth it? Are those drives worth it? Yeah,
right.
Those drives are worth it to me because those are times for me to decompress.
Nice. Yep.
So, like, going to work, obviously, like I told you, I enjoy my work.
Yep.
I enjoy the people I work around. So that time going up to work isn't a big deal to me.
Yeah, right.
It's just an hour. It's just another hour to me.
Yep.
That time coming back, say if I had a stressful day at work, that's just time to decompress.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you can utilize that time. Podcasts, put a book on, whatever it is. You can utilize it rather than just the same. Like, I think everyone has the same old routines all the time. Like, change it up.
Absolutely.
You know, change it up. It just keeps you aware. We need variety. It's another thing I teach in the gigs, too. I won't go deep into it now, but 6 human needs psychology. We all want certainty in our life. We want to know what's going to happen. We want to know what happens tomorrow. We want to know what happens next after this, whatever it is. But too much certainty creates boredom in life. That's why people get so bored in relationships. That's why families like don't do anything anymore. They don't hang out anymore because they got so bored. They needed variety. So there needs to be a variety in life so you don't become so certain, so secure with what you have that there's joy in life again. So there needs to be variety. It keeps you going. As you said, it's decompression for those drives. It's variety with whatever you toss on the radio or podcast or book, whatever it is. But you're growing in those moments, so it's different. It's not the same as everyone else driving their car to work, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's phenomenal. We need variety.
Yeah, a lot of people need that. Like you said, workplace, like they need that. 100%. I mean, like that's why I like my career because every day there's something different going on.
Yeah, right.
It's never the same.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect.
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah.
I'd love to touch on something that you had said before. But it was just the last conversation.
Yep.
Is like I like the saying "live in the moment."
Yep.
Because you talked about thinking about the past or thinking about the future and how like it can fuck up your brain and it messes you all up and does all this stuff. And it's like you only live one life. Live it to its fullest potential in the moment that you're in. Yeah. The best gift that you get every single day is opening your eyes in the morning. That is, or at night, whenever you wake up. It's the best gift you can ever have in life.
Right.
And waking up and thinking about shit that happened in the past or what can I do in the future or blah, 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 and not being present within your life is the biggest mistake I feel like people are doing. It's like yeah, I like me personally, like, yeah, I want to get a nice job, become successful, have a good career, get a home, get married, have kids, do that. But that comes with due time. I'm only 23. Right. I'm living the life that I'm living right now, doing what I want to do. To say, hopefully, it doesn't happen, knock on wood, but if I were to go tomorrow, I did what I wanted to do with the life that I had, and I'm not going with regret.
Exactly.
Like, obviously there's stuff that you want to do. If you don't get to it, it is what it is. Maybe you do it in the future. Maybe it just never happens. But in the situation that I am in my life right now, I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it on the days that I want to do it.
Right.
Frank Sinatra made a song about that, My Way.
Yep,
it's
exactly.
the same thing.
100%.
So it's like I hate it like when people bring up situations from the past or continuously bring up the past or live the past or like, oh, this is what I want to do in the future, blah 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 blah. It may not happen. Hopefully it does, but live the life that you're being presented with right now. Because you're going to lose out on the one thing you can't buy in life is time. And right now, I'm noticing it as I'm getting older. Time is going by extremely fast. Right. And it's like, that's one thing you'll never get back. So live every possible second within your life to its absolute fullest. If your fullest is sitting on the computer playing video games or going outside and going for a swim or even a walk around the neighborhood, if that's your fullest, beautiful. It's more than what other people are doing, and it's more than what some people are doing because, unfortunately, they're no longer here with us. Yeah. They can't live their present because their present is no longer. So it's like I feel like people just need to get off of – I feel like people can live a better life if they were so focused on the present than the future or the past. And it's like I realized that myself that like honestly, like if this podcast schedule wasn't in a calendar, I'd be all fucked up.
I get you.
Because I live my life day to day. I don't really plan for the future. And like sometimes like I'll make plans day of, but then I'm like, oh shit, I have other plans. And I'm like, oh damn, like I'm just living in the present. I'm not worried about what's going on 3 weeks from now. It's like if it's not in my calendar, I'm forgetting it.
I get that.
I'm forgetting that's why I have my girlfriend. Like she is my virtual. She is my human form of a calendar. She'll let me know. She'll let me know what needs to be done. But sometimes even she forgets because we've been together for 6 years. Nice. So like she is starting to learn my groove with being present and just living life in the present. Like that I feel was one of the best gifts that I was able to allow myself to get into, not worrying about the past. Because like I know people like family and friends and shit like that, they worry too much about it. I'm like, man, that's so stressful. Like I don't have stress in my life, and that's one of the greatest gifts I've got is to not be stressed because I live in the present. Right. And I don't have to worry about that stuff because if something happens, I'll deal with it while it's happening. I don't have to worry about it because it happened last week. Right. I'm just forget about it.
Exactly. No, and that's another strength that you have. It makes sense why earlier we mentioned self-awareness, because you have a gift right now where you are living your life fully in the present moment, but and you said earlier, time's flying. I just recently did this study. We always remember, we grew up hearing time flies when you're having fun. Like we heard that phrase all the time. It's not necessarily time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're fully present, fully experiencing the now moment. So you're seeing that clock go by quicker because you're not worrying about how quick the clock's going. You're just here right now experiencing whatever it is. This podcast, again, coming back to it, could be some random person you see on the side of the street, fully here, fully present. And it comes back to what we said earlier in the sense, too, of if every moment does happen for a reason and I have all this time on my hands, how do I want to utilize my time to the fullest? Do I want to take action on my goals today? I'm going to take action on my goals today. Do I want to go to the gym? I'm going to go to the gym. And you don't worry about the next thing on the agenda. Like you mentioned, like the calendar helps you so much. You'll get to the next. The calendar will work itself out. I literally have found this in my life. I think it was a lesson. I think it's a spiritual trait. But I explained to my client last night because he's in his 50s or so, phenomenal guy, electrician. So he's literally built off of the schedule. Like he needs to be at this client, this customer, this house, this house. And he goes, Bill, I'm trying to be here. I'm trying to do what you said. And it's like, I'm growing. It's really tough. And I explained to him, like, all right, you're doing it. Trust that you're doing it. But take a step back and realize, hey, you're doing it. Like, this is it. And when you trust and take a step back, which is the toughest thing for a lot of people to do, you don't have that stress. You don't have the anxiety anymore. But when it comes to the calendar and everything like this, I have truly found that, say I have my whole schedule planned, my client's schedule planned throughout the week or whatever it is, and comes time for a session, I get a call, Bill, I can't make it. I'm not going to log on today. I'm not going to meet you wherever we got to meet. I got to cancel. And there's been times where that happens. I'm like, all right, man, all good. No worries. And then just as that canceled session was supposed to start, I get a call from one of my good friends that they're going through a struggle. So if I, again, come back to what we said earlier, looking at the grand scheme of things, that session was never supposed to happen because something greater was supposed to happen, that conversation to help someone else out. There's been times where, this is an example, years ago, one of my friends from the gym, she just moved here, and she lost her dog. And you guys are in Rhode Island. It was in Cumberland, Rhode Island. And so she just went, Bill, like, I know, like, this is just weird, but can you please, like, come help me find the dog, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I drove out to Cumberland, Rhode Island. Like I had meetings that day, but I had a block. I had, like, a 5-hour block between sessions. And I was like, huh. She called me at, like, 9. I had, like, a 5-hour block. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let me go out and find this dog. I ended up pushing sessions back, but I ended up being in the snow-covered woods for, like, 5 to 7 hours helping her find this dog. Eventually found it.
Hell yeah.
For some reason, I felt that I was supposed to be there. I didn't care what session I had later in that day. I was trying to find this dog. But it shows random things are going to get thrown to your calendar and throw your calendar off. And if you stay present, you realize it was supposed to get thrown off. One, because something better and greater was supposed to happen for yourself, for the person, for whatever the help you were supposed to provide or help received. But at the same time, it was supposed to get thrown off to realize that my entire life isn't supposed to be on a calendar. It's supposed to be free flow. And when it's free flow in the present moment, like, it's great to have your schedule set and everything, but if it's free flow and you're living every moment to the fullest, like my client pointed out last night, it's like, Bill, like, you do such a phenomenal, I notice it in the session. You're present. You don't, it's like a thought doesn't even come into your head about after the session or before the session or tomorrow. Like, you're here with me. And he respects the heck out of that. And I tell him, like, well, like, I make sure, like, I say a prayer before every single session, like, for me to be here and for my best self, for us to rise higher to our higher selves, whatever I say, and for to be fully here and help this person, help him, help her, whatever it is. And then my client's like, yeah, you're like zoned in. Well, why? Because I primed myself essentially before the session to be in this moment. Before, when I was driving here, I had a little moment where I did kind of deep breathing type thing, listening to my music or whatever, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be awesome. And I'm setting myself up for something awesome. Not saying to myself, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. I had no idea what I was going to say here. I just met you guys, you know? Yeah. I'm sitting there like, let's let it ride. Wherever it goes, it goes. But I know that wherever it went and whatever it's going was supposed to happen. And with all the conversations we touched on, there's no denying this conversation was supposed to happen for you, for me, for you, you know, for the dog too. It's like literally, dude, like this moment was supposed to happen. But it's because we're all fully present here. We're all aware. We're growing. So if you live your moments fully present here, you're going to find so much joy, so much peace, so much freedom, so much love comes out of those moments. But that, again, comes back to what we touched on when I started. It elevates you higher. You grow energetically, you grow spiritually, you grow self-improvement wise. Everything grows because I realize I can't get to the future unless I go through now. So let me just go through now to the best of my ability. This one moment, we'll say that this podcast recording is one moment. That's not a time clock. That's just a moment. A moment could be 2 seconds. A moment could be 2 hours. A moment could be longer than that. But it was a moment in time, and we made it to the fullest. And when we take the clock out of things, if we take the calendar out of things, and all you have is just, this was the moment, you're there. You're finding so much more out of that. So I always say that, like, there was no time constraint on this podcast. Let it ride, because we're all supposed to be here for that moment. It's just, it's for people listening right now, it's just it's a way to live life without constraints on you, on your mind, whatever it is. And when we don't have constraints, we can enjoy. I spell enjoy, I-N-J-O-Y. Live in joy. And when you don't have constraints on yourself, you can be in joy all the time. And it keeps a smile on your face, but people resonate with that. And you can show up 10 times the best self that you need to do. It's incredible.
You're devoted to the perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like same thing with people who are so worried about future.
Yep.
Those calendars was like, cool, great.
Mm-hmm.
Your perspective is in the future, but if you're living every day and you're so worried about the future, if you're living in every day, you're going to get to that calendar date, and you didn't even realize that you living every day, you're going to be better for that calendar day,
right,
for whatever you need to do. Say if it's a meeting, you had a peace of mind 5 days prior, and every single day up to the meeting, you still have a good peace of mind. You're enjoying so now you're going to that meeting without anxiousness.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, to touch on that, if we look at it where, I don't know, say I'm not who I am now, and I had a speaking gig coming up, and I could only picture in my mind that gig being terrible. I'm going to bomb that thing. Oh, my goodness, what's going to happen? The gig's not for a month. But every single day for 30 days, that's going to go so bad. And I'm trying to prepare. It's not happening. Oh, my goodness. I'm living out the pain of that for 30 straight days. And then I get to the gig, and I light the place up.
Mm-hmm.
I kill it. It went off the roof. But I already lived all that anxiety for 30 days when I never needed to. It's just a matter of having that deeper perspective to realize, you know what? That gig is going to be phenomenal. I'm going to get there when I get there. I'm not going to worry about it now. That's 30 days in the future. I'm here. Let me be my best self here so I can be my best self there. And it's just one moment at a time. It's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. right? It's just people listening. It's a way to live life, but I believe wholeheartedly it's the way we were supposed to live our lives. Coming back to everything we've touched on, it's just different. It's helping us live our lives in a greater way. It's all connected. As you said, we're all one, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. It's been a deep podcast for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love these conversations.
It's a unique conversation. It's like, this is stuff that, like, I feel the universe and the world, they need to hear.
Yes.
This is stuff that people kind of like throw over their shoulder, and they're like, whatever.
Yep.
Type. This is that type of conversation.
Yeah.
And it's good to be able to talk on these situations, because, like, in the situation where we're all like-minded at, in this situation that we are right now, and we know deep down what's right and what's wrong, or what needs to go on, and we're all seeing different perspectives on the world, because like you said, society and social media and stuff like that, it builds it kind of, and I wouldn't say build, it literally like holds a pretty large percentage of the world in its hands.
Yeah.
And it's tough, because it's like kids, like, you want to go, like, back in the day, like you had mentioned back in the day, like kids were outside, kids were having fun, kids were playing. Now, I think I've seen maybe 2 kids so far summer.
Right? Exactly.
Which is sad. Like, I remember being out ass crack in the morning till right before the sunset at night, or even afterwards, having fun.
Yeah.
Now it's behind the scenes, and it's like, and you see it a lot more, and like, I hate bringing this word up, but it was COVID, and a lot of people used that to bring themselves in more of a deep and depressive state, where they don't want to socialize, they don't want to do this, and they're like, oh, this is the norm now I can do this and it be normal. And then you brought up you have an anxiety and stuff like that, and I feel that people are now using that as an excuse, and it's taking away from the people who actually have it and who actually need the medical attention for it. Like, people are using anxiety and depression as like a gateway now. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this, I have anxiety. Oh, I don't want to do this, I have depression. When in reality, it's all in their mental, because they see it as a norm now, which is crazy, because the people who really have it, who are really suffering and fighting, look like morons, and like, oh, you're just joking, you're being stupid, blah 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 blah. Like, no, seriously, like, I actually have this, but because the people that thought it was a joke make people that actually have it look like jokes.
It's true. You're 100% spot on with that, and I'm annoyed with how society has become. And you're right, COVID was a reset, and I ruffle feathers with this statement, but I want to, in the sense of, I think COVID was such an incredible blessing.
I agree.
I wholeheartedly believe it was a blessing, because if you pivoted when we were supposed to, and you used your time wisely, that could have been the greatest learning moment of your life for however many years they shut us down for. And some people just, like, I can use this example. So when COVID happened, the first 2 weeks, we didn't know what the heck was going on.
Right.
You know, my job was still trying to figure out, how do I I was still in the therapy field. How do I help these people? And that was us transitioning to Zoom. So for the first 2 weeks, I'm just hanging out playing PlayStation 5 with the guys. And it's just, I can remember, if they're listening, they'll remember this specific moment. We all hopped on one day. It's like 5 of us on. And one of my buddies goes, "Oh, Bill, what are you drinking today, huh?" I was like, dude, I'm in my room by myself playing video games. Why am I drinking? I got nothing to do. Like, what? Like, why am I? And everyone was silent, because everyone else had a drink. And it's like, coming back to the people you surround yourself with, right? And I love these kids. They're college friends, everything like that. But I know it's different mentalities. But I sat there and looked at, like, how am I using my time? How are they using their time? I couldn't sit down and play. At that point, I stopped going on video. I every once in a while went on video games, but I couldn't do it to the level that I was for those first 2 weeks. Because I realized, like, what the heck?
It was a self-realization.
Self-realization moment, right? Exactly. And it's like, from that point on, I was like, how can I use my time? And, like, pivot. I love the moments of COVID. I didn't get to see people, which sucked. But at the same time, like, all right, if I'm stuck in my room right now with my computer trying to work, and I have all this time, what can I learn? What can I read? How can I grow? And it elevated that. Like, COVID was the only reason I started getting clients around the country, because I learned how to put myself out there even more. So I'm like, all right, I pivoted. I learned. I now help people in Canada. I help people in Denver. I help people all across the country. I'm like, that never would have happened if I didn't pivot. And COVID, I believe, was a spiritual pivot for people because in the grand scheme of things, I look at it where all of us live so out in the future, as we just touched on. We live in the go, go, go. We never bring time back to ourselves. We never bring time back to universe, God, source, whatever. And if you find the presence in the present, I look at it where God's like, all right, you know what? You're not going to give time for this, and everyone needs it. I'm going to shut everything down. You're stuck in your room. Are you going to spend time with yourself, with me, and grow yourself on a deeper level, or are you just going to waste it? And for people that are sitting there like my buddies were doing, drinking every night and everything like that, like, you're not sober-minded. You're not trying to grow yourself. And yeah, we're all playing video games. It is what it is. But at the same time, most of my day was dedicated to how can I better myself. That's using your time wisely in those moments. But society now, like you come back to your big point on anxiety and whatnot, and the mental health field, there are so many people that are truly struggling with mental illness, mental health, anxiety, depression, anger, whatever term you want to put on it. And I hate so much how we just go to a pill, and I walk the path. I pull myself out with never going on to pills or anything like that, or for anxiety or coping or anything like this. I learned how to grow myself, and so now I see it in kids. They pump them like kids, like 7-year-old kids that I worked with when I worked in Brockton. When I picked them up, Bill, here's all his medication. He had like 8 bottles of medication of pills he had to take for his lunchtime.
Crazy.
I'm sitting there
insane.
like, what's all this for? And it's like, oh, that's for his ADHD, that's for his depression, that's for his anxiety, that's for this, that's for this. And I'm like, huh. And this one time she forgot to give him his medication before he went out, the parent, and I freaking love the kid. And we went to the park and we played basketball for like 3 hours. He was so content, so happy. Comes back, oh, Bill, I forgot to give him his medication. I was like, yeah, I know. He was the best kid I've ever seen. And it's like, well, really? I was like, yeah.
You didn't need it.
The medication, people need it. No doubt in my mind. But for most, it's a crutch. And for a lot of parents nowadays with younger kids, we're more than likely to put them in front of an iPad. We're more than likely to put them in front of the phone or some YouTube video or whatever. And we're depriving them of outside, as you said. But what we're doing is we're training them to think that they're not supposed to have that activity level. Like little boys are supposed to be outside running around, jungle gym, like we did as we were kids.
Playing in the mud and stuff like that.
You're supposed to be a boy growing to a man and whatnot. And it's like now we stick them inside in front of an iPad and we question, well, why does he have ADHD? Well, you deprived him of the moments of energy, where he can let it out as a little boy's supposed to do. And you see that in the school systems now, and it's just tough to see. But when I worked in the school systems, like one-on-one, I was like, all right, well, what do you want to do? It could be downpouring. You really want to go to the park? Yeah, let's go play basketball. Like, all right, screw it, let's go to the park. Because he had energy to get out. But when he got the energy out, there was a blank space there where I could speak into his life from what I knew and what he needed from a psychological and mental health perspective, from a therapy perspective, and that's what elevated him. We get the energy out so he has a space where he's calm, and then he listens, he hears it. But if he's stuck in a classroom and I need to take the medication so I don't shake and I can't focus on any of this stuff, all right, well, give him a moment to go get it out, and then he's going to get 100 on the test. And they did it, and it happened. Well, why? Because that's how we're raised. That's how little boys grow, and we're just depriving people of that. I know it's just the boy perspective rather than girl perspective, but I know the girls have the same thing too on their side, but kids are asking for it, and what society is doing is pushing it down. You got to let it out. Let a kid be a kid.
So what is it? It's that fake medicine.
Yep.
The medicine that's not needed.
Yep.
You need medicine to be able to do stuff. Like if you have a swollen leg, you need some ibuprofen.
For sure.
But you don't need ADHD medicine because you have ADHD. Yep. No, you need something to help you focus.
Yeah. Right.
You don't need another pill.
Yeah.
You have the sniffles. You don't need a pill because you have the sniffles. No, suck it the hell up and it will pass because your body is built to let it pass and fight it without those unnecessary medicines. It's literally just a way for these medical companies and these doctors to get paid.
It's true.
Which in the end is sad. You're forcing, my dad has an entire freaking cabinet filled with medicine. For what?
Right.
Seriously, for what? Why is he prescribed all this medicine? Why does he have to take this medicine every single day?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It is so crazy. And like you said with the iPad, that is the parents' medicine for the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, they're annoying. throw an iPad.
Exactly.
They don't teach the discipline. Oh, if you stop being annoying, you just keep throwing tantrums, you're done. You're in your room by yourself, locked up, nothing.
Yeah.
That's how I was. Yep. I did something wrong. It was on my bed, and I had nothing to do but twiddle my thumbs.
Exactly.
Being grounded, being disciplined.
Right?
Now it's just, oh, here you go have fun.
Exactly. There's discipline out the window. And, you know, to emphasize the point you said with the medications and whatnot, like your dad's cabinet, a ton of medications, you don't even know what they're prescribed for anymore. One thing with the stuff that I get to work with people on is when you really elevate yourself to a higher level, energetically, spiritually, everything like that, you start to heal yourself. And when you start to heal the parts of your brain that were succumb to anxiety and trauma and everything like that, you start to heal that, you start to see it where this is all minimized, all these emotions are minimized, but you can start to heal yourself, like your knee or your leg or whatever, quicker, because it's all related to the mind and the energy coursing through you. So, and that's deeper. But coming back to the medication thing, like we take medication now, like you mentioned ibuprofen, and I, you know, if I have a really bad ache, I take an ibuprofen. However, now it's getting to a point where even that, I don't even need to take it anymore, because like I train differently in the gym, I eat differently now for sure in a healthy way, but I don't get injured. Well, why don't I get injured? Because I've honed it in so much. My body, I literally tell my body it's operating at the greatest level. It's vibrant, it's healthy, it's operating at a high frequency. So my words, my thoughts, and everything like could be directing to an injury, and it literally heals it quicker. I can't say this on record. I haven't been to a doctor since COVID because I've trained myself to heal myself. And should I go get a checkup? For sure. But do I feel I need to? No. Because I've grown myself in that sense. And again, I think doctors, they're phenomenal and whatnot, but if it's necessary, go. But there is self-growth to the point where you could elevate yourself to such a level, and that's not me bragging, that's just me learning, where, oh my goodness, I didn't have to go worry down that path that led me to 10 doctors. I can give you an example to why that, so it's not like throwing people through a loop. Prior to COVID, I was really killing it in the gym. I was trying to lose weight, I had something wrong where I started getting like burning sensations in my feet when I was just like laying down. I was like, what is that? Like literally feeling of lava. And so I went to the doctor, and she goes, Bill, I think you have an overactive thyroid. Wow. I'm like, an overactive thyroid? What the heck? I know my dad has like an underactive thyroid, I believe it is. And it's I'm like, Bill, we're going to send you to this doctor in Norwood. I'm going to check you out. And I sat there for, had to be like 3 straight months. I went to this doctor every single week, and he would come in, great guy, come in, touch my thyroid, tweak it, and you go, yeah, you have an overactive thyroid. I go, how the heck did you figure that out by just coming in for 2 seconds and going like this? And he goes, no, you have an overactive thyroid. We're going to do tests. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to put you on this stuff. I'm like, and I was like, no, I want you to check this again in like a week or a month or something. Because I sat there like, there's more to this than just that. And so I went back the next week. And it's like, oh, Bill, it looks like from your blood test that it's getting lower. We're going to check it again. So I had to keep going for 3 months, to the point where he wanted me to go into an X-ray machine. And I was like, what the heck?
Radiation, no, pass.
Well, here's the thing. So this is the first time I got, like, as far as I know, was X-rayed. And so I'm by myself in this hospital, whatever, and the nurse comes out with, oh, Bill, here's your pill. Take this. I'm like, what kind of pill is this? She goes, it's a radioactive iodine pill. I'm like, radioactive, and I know that you need to do that for the camera of the X-ray. I'm like, I don't want to take this, but I needed to for the X-ray, so I take the pill, and I'm sitting there, and this is the first time I believe I ever meditated. And I sat there, and I'm sitting on this X-ray machine. I had to like take my necklaces off, like take the shirt off, everything like that. And the X-ray guy's out in the other room, and he's like, all right, Bill, give me a few moments. And I'm just sitting there with my head back, and I was like, you know what? I've never meditated before. I got nothing but time. Let's go for it. And I sat, and I tell you straight up, God spoke to me. And all I heard was, what are you doing? You've studied this. You know how you can heal yourself. You can heal this right now if you wanted to. And I sat there, and I started focusing on my thyroid and it healing, and positive energy come to it, and the whole 9 yards, healing energy come to it. And then the guy did his X-rays, and I get off the X-ray machine. I'm getting dressed. He goes, oh, these will be out in a few moments. I was like, nah, I'm good. I was like, you don't want the results? Nah, I'm all right. And I just walked out of the hospital, and I never went back. And then eventually they emailed me results, and everything was fine. And I'm sitting there, and like at that point I realized then COVID hit and I stopped going. But I realized in that moment we are so much more powerful than we could even imagine and realize. That's using the gifts of the Spirit to help you in all these areas, whether it is mental health, whether it is actual health. I'm not telling people if you just like lost a leg and you try and heal it, it's going to grow back. But I'm telling you, you have so much power to heal the aches and pains than you could ever realize. And so on a mental health level, like I've walked the path without medication, and I don't experience, like, are there moments of stress, worry, anxiety? Like brief moments, for sure. It's human. But I don't stay there. I explain to people, like, so in the gigs, I teach what is called the emotional guidance scale. It's all the emotions you experience, basically 1 to 22 list. Top of the list, you got joy, love, passion, empowerment, stuff like this. And then all the way down the list, 22, you have fear, grief, depression, disempowerment, and grief. And throughout this list, like I did, I asked Michigan State this. All right, guys, label your baseline. Where do you find yourself on this list? On the top list, all these positive emotions are all the way down as it sinks and gets lower and lower. And, everyone writes it down. I go, all right, everyone close your eyes right now. And raise your hand if you were at the top of the list. And 5 to 10 kids raise their hand. I'm like, all right, put your hands down. Raise your hand if you're at the bottom of the list. And all these hands shoot up. And I go, all right, good. All right, everyone open your eyes. And so what you guys just realize is that where your baseline is. In this very moment, you're feeling that emotion. Let's change it. And so the questions you ask yourself direct your mind that we said earlier. So how can I experience, if you're feeling depressed and you ask the question of how can I experience frustration right now? Because frustration is better than depression. And so you rise up from 22 on the list to, say, 17. And so 17, how can I rise from frustration to optimism? And if I can rise from optimism to empowerment or rise to joy, whatever it is. I've walked this path myself to connect to the point where joy has become my baseline, which is number one. Joy and love is number one on the list. So if joy is my baseline, are there moments that sink me? Yes, but I bounce back up. It's all about your daily patterns, your daily thoughts, your daily routines, your daily actions that change this, but change how you live. And so when I teach this to clients or audiences, everyone's like, oh my goodness, I never, once you put it on the screen and the scale, people are like, yeah, that connects. It's just showing people this information, which we don't teach in school. It's just, we are so powerful. It's phenomenal. But we don't teach people it, which is not phenomenal. It's just sitting there for us. But that's why I love doing this work, because it's helping people with what they need now more than ever. It's fun. It's just a passion seeing people grow.
A lot of what hurts society now is like the gatekeeping of that, like not wanting to give that information if they have that information. But then you see the people like you, I'm a big guy, and when it comes down to like learning from others, that's how I learn. Like I go through my own experiences to learn from my experience, but I also learn from other people. So I can watch someone go through something and be like, okay, cool, I can see where you got through that, see the steps, whatever. And now I feel like I wouldn't go through that, and if I do, then I clearly missed a step. And now I learn. Yeah. Right. But on the back end of that, you were talking earlier about knowing your body, like knowing that you're capable of recovering without going to the doctors, like understanding that you can get through uncomfortable situations and find comfortability within them. And that's something that, like Goggins, for example, he's a fucking animal. Yeah, right. And he'll go through like these 24-hour rucks or 48-hour rucks and end up with shin splints and stuff like that. But that doesn't bother him. And why? Because he knows his body. He understands that like this is part of suffering, is part of the reward. It's part of the goal. Yeah. So inevitably, it's going to make himself feel better. It's not an issue. Right. It's the preparation of your mind, like understanding that, okay, this could be a thing. This could happen, and it does happen. Yep. But now you know your body. You know that it's going to heal. How? Because you're putting that in your mind. 100%. It's going to happen.
Exactly. Right. That's the scripture behind it. Connecting it to cultures now is tell this mountain to move, and it will move. So the goal of that is to believe it is already done. If I tell this mountain to move, and I just believe it's moved, I'm just going to keep going.
You're fine.
You're going to keep going. So with healing yourself, if you're going to constantly focus on, oh, my knee, oh, my bad knee, you've already, in just me saying that, has built up so much negative perspective and negative energy and lack of faith and doubt that, you just hurt your knee 10 times more. But if I sit there and I'm like, you know what, my knee is healed, and you pray on everything like that, but my knee is healed, it doesn't ache anymore, I'm feeling better and better every single moment. And then you get up and you walk and do what you need to do. It becomes an afterthought of your mind because you're already living with the fact that it's done. That's what faith is all about. And with healing, but with goals and whatnot, with manifestation, like it all comes together in the sense of as you said with my exam, it's like healing. It's like your body. It's like, I'm going to trust that I can heal it. I'm going to trust that it's getting what it needs. I'm going to trust that it's good. But then believe me, you know what? I marked all the boxes. I'm good. And it heals 10 times quicker. It's crazy how the mind works and how the mind connects to our body and our organs and everything like that. But that's what it's all about. Your mind is literally like, if I sit there and ask you guys, like the unconscious part of your mind right now, consciously, you're in this conversation. Unconsciously, your mind is telling your heart to pump. Mm-hmm. Your mind is telling the blood to go. Through your unconscious mind is so powerful that it's operating all of this system in your body. So if we step into that unconscious to heal whatever ache and pain it is, it heals. Because you changed what's running the software in the back of your mind. Your brain's a supercomputer. It just all connects together to everything we've talked about. But it's incredible. You know, healing yourself or coming back to mental health areas or self-awareness, all these areas we touched on, it's just growing yourself, but realizing how powerful you actually are. And when people open their eyes up to that, when they open their mind up to that, you are a different human being. You really are. So, like, people listening, I encourage you, go to the library, go to Barnes & Noble, go to whatever it is, grab a self-improvement book, find a speaker, go on YouTube, whatever it is, find a podcast, but grow yourself in whatever way you choose. Choose something you've never stepped in before. Like self-healing, choose that. And just see what happens and just see what you learn, but be open to it. Because I can sit there and tell this mountain to move, but if I'm not open to the actual reality of it being moved, it's not going to happen, right? You gotta have to believe. You have to believe that it's there, and that's where faith comes into play. But it's the bottom line for everything, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Truly could not agree more.
We're at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Really? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, there we go.
It's crazy how fast time flies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we usually finish this out with where do you see yourself now? Like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Where do you want to be? We talk about all this, but where do you see yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, I'll give you a story behind this. So years ago when I was in Brockton, and it's funny, the story came up at Michigan camp the other day. It came up today to a kid that I was talking to on the treadmill, a 19-year-old kid that needed support. But years ago, I was probably in my first year maybe, of working in the therapy field, and the owner of the company came in, and he goes, I just want to get to know everyone. There's a team of 30 people in there, and I just want to get to know everyone. So we're going to go around the room, tell me your name, how many years you've been here, and then tell me your dream. And he's going to person to person. They're all saying their name and whatnot. I'm like, oh, I would love to my dream would just be going on vacation to the Bahamas, go to Cancun, something like that. He goes around the room. He gets to me. And I was like, Billy G, my dream is to sell at a stadium with helping people. And everyone in the room just like, what? And, like, they knew me. They knew I was driven to do this. But, like, he goes, why is that? And the whole conversation shifted. And he goes, why is that? I was like, well, I was trained by Tony Robbins. I want to help people. I want to be a speaker. I believe this job is, in fact, a stepping stone for me. But I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I want to help people. And he goes, oh, that's interesting. And it dropped, one of those moments, dropped right in my head. Email him. So, so after that meeting, I emailed him like, hey, his name was Mike. Hey, Mike, just want to know, I really enjoyed talking to you. I would love to talk to you about coming and speak to the company and just seeing if I could help your company in these areas. He gave me my first speaking gig. He loved everything I did. That was the first gig I ever had. So I say that to answer your question right now. Where do I see myself in 5 years? I see doing this on a whole different scale. I love traveling, speaking to Michigan State, speaking to these different schools, speaking to these high schools, these companies. I want to do that on a whole bigger scale. I want to go to these conferences. I want to lead these conferences. I want to help people in such a deeper way. And at 5 years, 10 years down the line, I'm going to sell out that stadium with helping people in whatever way it looks like. But I see myself at a whole different level. And I'm so driven for that. And I know I'm taking the steps to get there now in business and self and everything. And some days will feel like a long road. Some days it feels like, hey, you get everything you need, man, thumbs up. But I know with where I'm being guided in a spiritual way, but also my heart leading me, that's going to happen, and I'm ecstatic. I'm so amped. So I can see myself doing more conferences, helping more clients around the country, but being a much, not in a prideful way, but I see myself being a much bigger name in this industry in a joyous way, we'll say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I can speak for the both of us saying this, that we do see you there, right?
I appreciate that.
And that it will happen, God willing.
Yeah,
so,
right.
best of luck, and
we
wish you the best.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time, guys. It's been a blast with you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love diving deep in these topics.
Yeah, right. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
like you said, Mansfield. That's not a walk. It's definitely a hike.
That's all right, though. No, like, seriously, like, hey, if you ever want me back on and just have a deeper conversation, heck, if you don't want to be recorded, you want to dive deeper into these other topics, like, reach out.
Absolutely.
Like, seriously,
Definitely.
I'll gladly. I love connecting with you guys. I love this conversation. And I think these types of topics, as we touched on, are what people need. Because whether it's us talking about me seeing the leadership strength in you and what your company saw in you, or me seeing the self-awareness strength in you and what you saw in yourself, when we identify that for people, it opens them up to look at themselves in the mirror and realize, like, what do I bring to the table that other people see that I've been missing in myself? And for us to talk about this conversation now can only inspire, in spirit, other people to look at it themselves. So I appreciate being a part of it, guys. I appreciate the questions. But yeah, no, I'd love to do it again sometime. That'd be a blast.
course.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For
Likewise.
sure.
Likewise.
You're a true inspiration. Not only to us, but to the people that are going to watch this. The stuff that you said today is something that I know at least one person will be able to resonate from.
That's all that matters.
And in the end, that's all that matters. And even for myself, and I know I can speak for him, that we took a lot from this episode.
Absolutely.
And when I say that you are truly inspirational, I mean it. Like, the stuff that you said is truly inspirational from you and yourself.
That means the world. That's why I'm here. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no
That's why
problem.
I'm in this world, I think. So that means the world.
Exactly. Where can people find you?
Yeah, of course. So, guys, my website is BillyGLifeCoaching.com. You go see what I'm all about. You can see recent speaking gigs on there. You can set up your own free strategy session if you liked what you heard and you want to talk deeper about your own areas. What we're doing is meeting you one-on-one, but to create a tailor-made process to help you on your journey to figuring out your purpose, to walking in that confidence, that self-love, that peace, but to bettering yourself. So people can go to BillyGLifeCoaching.com and set up a free call with me. You can just see what I'm all about. YouTube, once a week with Billy G. I've been doing that channel for this Sunday will be 409 straight Sundays. I've never taken a week off.
Hell yeah.
That was my practice to get to the stages and just craft my speaking ability. So, you can go back and see me in the woods over 8 years ago and trying to do this. But now it's great. We have guests on. I'd love to have you guys on too.
Definitely. We'd love
that'd
to
be
do
a
that.
blast. Heck, I'll come back here. I'll bring my stuff and we'll just set it up.
Yeah.
But no, I'd be a blast having another conversation with you guys. But guys, go to Once a Week with Billy G on YouTube. Please subscribe. We got probably 13.6 thousand subscribers right now. It's growing.
Awesome.
We're getting views and whatnot, which is a blast. But the whole goal of that channel is to help people. Every single message is it could be a solo message from me. It could be a podcast, a recording, or an interview with someone else. But the whole goal is to create a video, a message to help people with what they're going through. So people listening, go check it out. You're going to find the message that you need on there. On Instagram, at Billy J. Analutis. I know I got the long last name. Just type in Billy G Life Coaching. I'll pop right up with that. But
It'll be in the description.
Yeah, it'll be down below.
Find the link on this, guys. But you can find me on there, guys. Facebook, Billy G. LinkedIn, same thing. But find me, guys. I'm willing to talk to anyone.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on our show. It is greatly appreciated, and it was truly an honor to be able to host you and be able to listen to your story today.
It means the world.
It was greatly appreciated. But guys, if you guys enjoyed today's podcast, obviously make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Obviously follow Billy's journey over on all of his socials, and if you want to get in contact with him, obviously do so, because not only did this episode help us, it will definitely help you. And if you need that further helping, he can definitely help you on a one-on-one level. But obviously, we will catch you guys in the next podcast. Take it easy. Peace out.
See you guys.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo Boo signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock.